All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for our second series of the night between GeekFam and Adroit. It is, of course, MLP Dota and John Expired. John, quick question before I ask you how you're feeling. How expensive are mangoes in your country?
Actually, pretty darn cheap. Surprising. We export it, so it's expensive for you guys, but pretty all right for us.
What if I told you you can get mangoes, or the taste of mangoes, is at an even cheaper price? A can of Monster John Mango Loco, real mango juice. Only costs a couple dollars. You don't need to go buy those mangoes and cut them up and get your hands dirty and get the pieces stuck in your teeth. Just have a can of Monster, and you'll be energized.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely will be. You know,
Next time I
no
ask you a
doubting that.
question-
I'm pretty perked up.
Next time I ask you a question to set up the ad, John, if you don't mind, could you just tell me it's really expensive? You know, it may help me. Anyway, forgetting about that, I know you're a big fan. I can see the body pillow in the background. I don't know how you sleep being that energized, John. It must be quite hard to actually fall asleep being that awake.
I don't sleep.
Thank you, John. Draft, or rather band stage, has begun. GeekFam versus Adroit. This should be a very intriguing matchup. And let me tell you why. Adroit, they've been looking pretty good. Right? They're always kind of up and down, but I'd say they're always above average. GeekFam, to me, are one of the more brilliant teams in SCA, or rather, a more brilliant up-and-coming team. Got some really big players there. You've got Cuckoo, Raven, of course. One of our favorites, Zephyr, always making those plays as the POS 4. They haven't been looking very flash during the Pro Series, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They haven't been looking amazing. But I have a weird feeling today we might see something special out of them, because I find when they've got their backs up against the wall is when the brilliance truly comes out for this team. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Definitely so. It's one of the things with GeekFam is that they can come up and really bring it to you when you least expect it. That usually when they're on the ropes like this, they are in the lower brackets. There's no room to breathe here. This is when they should shine. You know, all stakes are up there. They need to bring out that A game, and when they do, it's spectacular. But when they faced off against Adroit, first games of the Pro Series, I believe, among the first games of Pro Series, Adroit did 2-0 them. So historically, at least from this league, Adroit does kind of have a leg up now. That was a patch ago, 2 patches ago. So a lot has changed, and we'll see whether or not GeekFam has changed along with it.
I don't know. I don't like the opening for GeekFam. Like, they go into a very strong support in the Pugner, but you gave the Ember away? They weren't listening to the interview we just had with FBZ? They don't know.
They must have missed out.
They must have missed out, because Ember is completely broken right now. Has been for a very long time, and the reason is it has so much utility. It just does everything. Way too broken to be hero. They follow up with the Nyx Assassin, but I must admit, I like where GeekFam went straight after. They went into the Beastmaster. You've got the lockdown now for that Ember Spirit, but more importantly, that opening duo says we're going to push. We're not going to give you time to get online on that Ember. You better be ready to defend when we're knocking at your door, because we'll be knocking pretty darn soon.
For sure. I like this draft from GeekFam, even though it is 50-50. Like, there are ways of really punching Adroit's opening here with that Ember Spirit. You've got the Beastmaster. The Roar is always going to be strong. In that sense, you're always going to be able to have a solid way to keep that Ember in his spot. So there's a lot of value in that beast. As you mentioned, the Pugna and Beastmaster do give you a lot of push. I worry about certain things, though. Mainly that Adroit has set themselves up quite nicely with that Nyx pickup. So you have a way of counteracting every single thing that the Pugna wants to do. If he Nether Blasts, you want to stun him, just go up, press E. Spike Carapace is going to do the work for you. And you do have decent wave clear with that Ember Spirit. Those summons from the Beastmaster might be put in a bit of danger with that hero. Maybe not initially, but once you see that Maelstrom come out, it is fairly easy to melt that down. So you do have ways from GeekFam and Adroit to kind of counteract this draft from each other. I think overall, I would give a slight edge to Adroit, mainly because the Ember Spirit has just been that dominant. You do have a good response in the Beastmaster, but the Ember has just been completely wrecking face when it's been picked up.
Oh, Nature's Prophet now to come out from Adroit. I like the pickup. You know, one thing Nature's Prophet does like, John, is being able to use Nature's Wrath and having a lot of creeps around. It does get bonus damage straight off the ultimate as well. A bit of a global presence now from Adroit. You've got the Ember, you've got the Nyx Assassin, you've got the Nature's Prophet follow-up. Love the pickup. GeekFam will respond with an Oracle. But this draft from Adroit is starting to concern me a little bit for the sake of GeekFam, to be honest with you, John, because it just looks like they're going to be able to go all over the map and just catch out whoever they feel like
5
catching.
seconds remaining.
For sure. They've got all the capabilities just from the kits they have. As you mentioned, Nature's Prophet Ember just gives you a lot of presence across the map. GeekFam with the Oracle pickup at least now have a really great way of sustaining heroes. You have the Pugna Oracle. So you get the False Promise off, you get the Drain off as well, and you're probably not going to be able to burst that hero down, Adroit. So you do have a way of saving those heroes now from GeekFam. I would like to see what they do combine here with all the sustain. You want a frontliner that's going to be enjoying that prolonged life. We have seen a lot of Troll in conjunction with that Oracle and Pugna. That's something that could come out here for GeekFam. That's going to be a good option for them. It's not banned out. I think something else to consider is maybe the Husker makes an appearance here. It's a bit of a wild card, but you have the Oracle already. No one's going to be banning it out at this point. It's an option for GeekFam if they want it.
Another option, the Lycan, John, is hasn't been banned yet. Yeah, Beastmaster Pugna, and you haven't banned Lycan. If you are, that scares me for Adroit. I think if GeekFam do take Lycan, that is way too much to deal with. We've seen it so many times. No matter how much you have in wave clear, those heroes just keep running at you. They just don't stop. But who do you ban out, right? Like you said, you could choose the Husker if you're GeekFam. You've only got one ban left if you're Adroit. You've got to make a choice. You still also have the option for a Troll Warlord. And we know that's also a great combination with the Oracle and also pushes very, very quickly. So who do you ban?
I mean, we'll find out from Adroit. They do go into the Phoenix next. This kind of, I mean, it works nicely with what you have from Adroit. It gives them some sustain. We know how much the Phoenix can get done. You don't have the best of ways to keep that hero in its place. Like, you have the Oracle Root for now, and yeah, the Beastmaster Roar, but you're not going to be expending that in the Phoenix. Obviously, the main target for that will be the Ember Spirit. So there should be some value here from Adroit. The Egg is going to be a bit of a risk. Beastmaster does have pretty decent right click. He has a nice aura as well. The Troll does come out for GeekFam, so that does deal with a Phoenix, right? It works with that Oracle. We see this time and time and again. Oracle, Troll, just really solid. You have to really think about how you initiate, how you jump, how you jump the backline specifically. I think the Pugna is going to add so much more to that, Mike. Just life drain on top of that False Promise. How do you kill this guy?
I don't know. That's not my problem, that's Adroit's problem. They've got to figure that out. And I hope they do for their sake. They still have a fantastic draft in and of itself. We talked about that global presence. They're going to be able to really get aggressive by that 10-minute mark and start trying to make plays, especially once you see the Vendetta on the Nyx Assassin. That's when it's going to be scary for GeekFam. Where is this Nyx? Who's he aiming for? Where's the Prophet? Does he have TP available right now? You know, it's scary. But Adroit, they get rid of the Husker. They don't want to have to deal with that pick, right? We don't want to get cheese today. I still believe if you are GeekFam, it's a little bit greedy, but I do believe if you wanted to run the Troll mid, which does in fact work okay up against the Ember mid, if it is in fact an Ember mid, you could go the safe lane Lycan, and it would still work.
You could make that work. It is fairly greedy. I think that's something Adroit can look to punish. Like, you're not guaranteed to win that mid lane matchup against the Ember Spirit. He can just basically burn you down. For the most part, you can blind him, but it can be a toss-up. Maybe if you got a couple of lucky roots, that's how you bully out the Ember. I'd actually say Adroit could be looking at the Lycan themselves. It would work out quite great with this draft. GeekFam does have a solid root. Keep that Lycan in place. I don't think, again, Lycan's the kind of hero to really care about that. You would be picking it into the Pugna, who would clear out those summons, but you already have Nature's Prophet to kind of combine to try to overwhelm that. So it could be a good pick for either side if one of them wanted to go that route. I think it's much more... there's much more space in Adroit's draft to let that happen compared to GeekFam. I think Troll mid is just way too greedy with how both teams play. You would want a mid laner that doesn't take as much farm and just kind of wins out that lane a bit more evenly. You do have the option for the Storm that's not banned out, but I wouldn't pick it into Nyx. You know, that's asking for trouble.
It certainly is. Also, doesn't really like going up against the Ember mid. It's never fun up until you hit that 6 mark. GeekFam do have over a minute of time left to think about it. They've got time. Great lineup already. Do they want more team fight? Do they want to just push? They go for a Lina. Okay. You do have some crazy burst potential there with the Pugna Decrepify, to be fair. Like, amping up that Laguna and the rest of the abilities never hurts. Not to mention, with Fiery Soul John, she does attack very, very quick. Like, it's almost like having a second troll in your team. But Adroit, I love this. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hold on a minute, there's a Pugna. Why would you do this? But in terms of the PA versus Lina matchup, what's the Lina going to do if the PA jumps her? Like, especially once you have a BKB up, if the Pugna's not around, if the Pugna's not really ready with that Decrepify, this Lina won't be able to do anything. She's a sitting duck.
I would like to see Adroit kind of play around with his PA knowing about the weaknesses, right? You mentioned BKB. Natsumi needs a super fast BKB here. You talked about Pugna. It's not just that. Oracle. Disarm. That's it. Innate disarm on that Oracle. The Pugna as well with the Decrep that could go on the PA. This is something Adroit has to be conscious about. I do like this pick. You mentioned the burst potential is fantastic. You jump the Pugna, he's dead. You jump the Oracle, it will take a little bit of time if he gets his spells off, but if you have a Basher, then you could probably just kill him off as well. So it's an issue of timing. I think Adroit will have to prioritize that early BKB. They can't go too greedy with what we see from a lot of PAs going for the Desolator Battle Fury. Just not a viable option with how long it'll take. Beyond that, I think GeekFam does have the right tools. You mentioned the Lina and the Pugna. Decrep is going to make it so much easier for Carl to find those early kills. So you have a lot of ways of dancing around here. I think I would give the edge now to GeekFam's draft. I think they've set themselves up quite nicely. Adroit is making things harder for themselves with that last pick PA into Pugna Oracle. They can still make it work, but it's going to be a lot tougher than you'd expect.
Well, apparently, with Alina anyway, her last game was 20-3. So Carl had a very nice last Lina performance. Mind you, it was a pub, I'm sure, but still very, very dominant victory for Carl. It's really interesting. Like, I know a lot of people that are probably watching this, when I said I like the PA pickup, thought, what an idiot. Like, what's this guy talking about? It's just a trade-off though, right? Like, even up against the troll, just having that natural inbuilt evasion would really, be quite nice with the PA. It's just going to be a matter of whether Adroit do give Natsumi the time to get the BKB up, I think. Right, because once you've got the BKB, things become a lot easier for Natsumi. You do still have the Decrepify on teammates to worry about, but perhaps they could find a way around it. Only time will tell.
Yeah, the key thing is, beyond just those BKBs, I think you have to really look at Mac's progression. He's going to be the one buying the time on this Ember. So he has to win out that mid lane matchup. Linas don't necessarily lose out. We've seen that time and time and again. Still a very solid laner. So if Carl can exert that pressure to keep Mac evenly, Adroit will have some issues finding that space.
For some reason, we saw Zephyr pulling Roshan out of his pit. Bit early for that Zephyr though. Bot lane, nice Impale Raven. Getting blocked up by that tree, and it looks like Raven does go down. Bok, great micro from him. A very early first blood for Mac, and if there's one hero you don't want to give a first blood over to, it's the mid-ember.
For sure. Like, this is going to give him so much more in his first courier usage. He's going to have a lot of regen on hand. So Carl, even if he harasses Mac out of his mind, Mac's not going to be under too much pressure. He has a lot more leeway to bleed out in this lane.
Still, Carl is really going to try and focus to get as much harass as possible before you get those levels up in Flame Guard. Mac has been forced to go level 1 chains to get the first blood, which makes it a little bit awkward for him. Can't really use that Sleight of Fist to harass back. So Carl should be able to find himself a decent advantage. For now, at least, anyway. Like, as levels go up, of course, Mac will be a real nuisance. Carl, so far, great job. 6-3 on the Lina. Mac can't really even get close. He's already burning through so many tangos here. Of course, we'll have a look at the top lane for a second. Natsumi is going to be there with CML. They'll be up against Cuckoo's Beastmaster and Zephyr on the PA. Oh, sorry, not the PA, the Pugna. And this is a bit of a rough lane for the PA, John. She doesn't enjoy going up against Beastmaster. And on top of that, when you've got Zephyr to decrepify every time she tries to go in for a last hit, it does become even more frustrating.
It's a very challenging lane for that PA. She can play around with that dagger toss. That's really going to be it. At the very least, Zephyr is still at level 1. You're not going to be seeing the decrep spam just yet, which does give a little bit more breathing room to Natsumi, although they've caught a lot of damage just from exchanging with the Beastmaster Boars and a couple of Nether Blasts early on, although CML has done a fantastic job of kind of spacing Zephyr out just a bit more.
Of course, bot lane, the one we haven't talked about yet, Bok is going to be there on the Nature's Prophet. Up against Raven, you'll see Boomy there on the Nyx Assassin, just rotating around, and of course, Whiteman on the Oracle. Going to be there as the Pugna top lane falling very low. Zephyr, he might tick out to that fire damage from the Phoenix, and yeah, he does. Zephyr does overextend a little bit, trying to go after Natsumi, I believe, and he does pay for it.
We actually see Zephyr go for the Nether Ward on his level 2 as well, so you're not seeing the decrep coming into play. I guess that's fair. CML is actually just focusing down at Pugna, not really focusing on trying to slow Cuckoo, but ensuring that Zephyr is not around to mess up the last hits of Natsumi, and that is causing issues here for Zephyr very early on.
This Nether Ward as well, like, can be a little bit frustrating for Natsumi, right? Because you're constantly throwing out the dagger to secure CS, but just losing mana as you go and, you know, getting zapped every time you try to throw a dagger can't be fun for Natsumi.
Definitely isn't.
Look back at that mid lane. Carl is really having a good time, John. I mean, 22 and 10. He's doubled the last hits of Mac for now on this Ember, and it is not getting easier. Carl is really not backing off. His positioning is just perfect. Every time Mac comes in for a last hit, he gets punished.
Yeah, I like seeing this coming out from Carl. Mac is struggling so much in this lane. It's surprising that Adroit is just letting this happen. They're not throwing any supports down. They're not having perhaps Bok to try to come in and isolate. Although Carl hasn't really overextended, but even with that first blood, Mac is so far behind now, it feels like probably level 1 change just doesn't feel worthwhile if it led to this bad of a bleeding start.
Oh, he got very unlucky as well. They're going to try and steal the rune away from Carl, but no, he finds it. He gets the illusion rune, gives them the burn, and that is just so unlucky for Mac. Like, you've rotated Bok over to secure the power rune up top, they rotated the Nyx Assassin to try and secure it if it was bot, and even then, with 3 heroes trying to get the power rune, Carl finds it anyway.
Yeah, very, very good move from him. Unfortunate for Adroit, just a bit too slow on that teleport from Bok. It looked like he didn't actually want to commit it early on. Like, they waited a bit too long in that TP. This is just going to make the presence for Mac a bit harder. He's going to have to dip into his jungle camps much earlier on. That's the only way for him to really bounce back in this lane. You wouldn't want to be here once Carl is 6. It's just going to burn you down.
He's about to hit that 6. He's about to outscale Mac by 2 levels. And yep, there's Laguna. Up and ready to go. You have level 2 Flame Guard, which is some decent damage block, but maybe not enough. Top lane, however, looks like the Phoenix may drop, though Zephyr does miss the Nether Blast. And so CML does walk away with his life intact. Cuckoo was also falling very, very low, but he'll survive. Its mid lane. Mac is now getting jumped on by Carl, who did commit the Laguna. Still, Boomy will rotate and drain the mana as he misses the Impale, but it won't matter. The chains does connect onto Carl. And underneath the T1 tower, he does get taken out.
That's a really deep dive from Carl. Like, he is strong, but the response from Adroit was on time this time. They managed to find that kill, punish that movement, does give Mac a lot more to work with. That is freeing up that bot lane, and you take a look at Raven, 44 last hits on this troll, an entirely free lane. Compare that to Adroit's PA at 29, not even close.
Certainly not. It's like mid lane Mac again going to get jumped as Zephyr rotates in. No Decrepify to really slow him down, and now Bok will rotate with CML. Zephyr has also overextended, and I think GeekFam may have forgotten Adroit does have a pretty global draft.
It does look that way. Like, they haven't been factoring these rotations from Adroit in response. Yeah, Adroit's the kind of team that would just TP heroes down, even if they're just finding support kills. They still find that worthwhile. They have managed to punch that quite well. But 0-4, GeekFam is still leading by 2k. So I don't think they're going to be too worried. At 6.5 minutes in, 2k is a pretty good amount.
It is pretty solid. They're going to try and forcing in towers now. It looks like bot lane going to be harassed a little bit by Raven. Impale out from Boomy, but it's only level 1 Impale. It's not really going to do too much. Raven just having such a nice time on the Troll Warlord. Just not suffering whatsoever. Up top, Natsumi is just dancing around in circles right now on the PA, trying to find farm, but it's so hard up against a Beastmaster. It's just impossible, because every time you get close, the balls just hit you, and they hit so hard. In fact, Roar is going to come out straight on that Nyx Assassin. They want to try and get Boomy, but Spike Carapace comes in and a very nice impale, but Purifying Flames from Whiteman, who was there on the Oracle, and now Zephyr, he does go down, but Cuckoo's going to find a secondary. He's kind of surrounded, but no, Natsumi has to blink out of there. It's a 1-for-2 trade. Adroit do get punished heavily by Cuckoo.
It's a really good start for GeekFam. They're just finding all these big kills. Again, Adroit is willing to TP out. That doesn't mean the trades are always going to be favorable. They drop Bach. They're definitely not a worthwhile trip to the top lane. And that just gives Cuckoo a lot more to play with. He's pressured out a lot of heroes to the top lane. Very good use of that first Primal Roar. You see CML is hanging out here. Well, back to hanging out here. You already dragged out the Nyx up there. You dragged out the NP. This time around, GeekFam is going to be keeping the 3 heroes up. They look to set up to try applying pressure on that tier 1.
They will. Of course, mid lane Mac, he misses the chains on K. Boomy needed that chain set up to get the impale off, and perhaps they could have gone for a kill attempt, but Carl is not giving him that. Zephyr was rotating in on the Pugna just in case. That is a very lucky drop to get when you're a mid laner, John. Finding the Ocean Heart. Always very, very nice. Carl has been very lucky so far this game. In fact, he finds an Arcane Rune as well. Well, that's alright. Why not?
All the things you could ask for going out here for Carl. Just giving him a lot more, and Adroit just can't find anything. 3k disadvantage now, 9 minutes in, has just been steadily growing. You actually do see, again, just free farm all around for GeekFam's laners. Raven actually going to the top lane now. They really want to take this tier 1, and it should be fast with the army that Cuckoo does have.
Well, I guess this is the one of the points of the GeekFam draft. You have to push. Don't give time to Adroit to get Natsumi up and running. You've got so many cores on the side of Adroit that are just stronger in the later stages of the game, including that Ember and Nature's Prophet. So your best bet if you are GeekFam is just to take map control ASAP, and GeekFam will find that tier 1 top. And nothing will be traded for it so far. Adroit, they are starting to posture around the tier 1, and looks like they will go ahead and start to take it. GeekFam, do you try and pressure the top tier 2? Looks like Raven will.
Yeah, that's a fair trade. They can do a decent amount of damage to that tier 2. The bot, tier 1, it's pretty much a dead lane. They don't really have anyone around. They do find a kill, but that is just Zephyr, you know. It's a support level 4 Pugna for good damage on the top tier 2. You're not going to be too pressured from that as GeekFam.
Cuckoo's starting to get to that scary point with the Beastmaster now. You've got the Helm of the Dominator. He'll probably go for the Necro Book very, very soon. And this is when the push really starts to get quite scary if you are a droid, as Mac pretty far forward, but he did have a Remnant and will get out. But with that, GeekFam would love to get this tier 1 mid. Mac is going to be popping that DD to try and defend. You'll see Boomy coming in. Whiteman, meanwhile, finds CML. And now it double chains. The Impale is on Carl, so Carl is dead on the Lina. They found the tier 1 tower, however, and that's really all they wanted. In fact, Cuckoo, do you want a Roar? He doesn't actually have it. He committed it on the Phoenix. So a 1-for-1 trade in the end. GeekFam got what they came for, but I'm not sure if you're too happy losing the laner in the process.
You're really not, but at the same time, you did take the tier 1 mid. I'd call that even. That does give GeekFam the map control they were looking for. This does mean that Raven can just slip and play around his top jungle as he has. Much safer than he was a while ago. So just a lot more leeway here for where GeekFam can be on the map. And just less space for Adroit to play catch-up with Natsumi. Natsumi not quite close to that Desolator. Close to the first Mithril Hammer. Then it's still going to be some time till the next one. You would like to see Adroit play a lot more with her Nyx at level 7. They do smoke up, so perhaps they'll try to find something.
Jumped. Mac should be a very easy kill for the Ember Spirit, and he does get it. That'll make it a 3-8 now. 4k net worth lead still for GeekFam. Adroit only interested in going for kills and buying space for Natsumi. Natsumi getting close to picking up that first Mithril Hammer. But on the other end of things, Raven's getting very, very close to picking up the full Diffusal. You also have the Yules up onto Karl, so he has some very, very easy LSA setup. I think if you're GeekFam, like you definitely want to still try and be aggressive. You've got Cuckoo with the Prime Aurora available. I think there's never a better time than right now. But Cuckoo may actually get jumped. Boomy is rotating on the Nyx Assassin.
Radiant are scanning.
He does get scanned out. They could try and turn this. Sentry to be dropped. Boomy, good game sense to just remove himself from that scenario. And he will also run into Zephyr, who doesn't know if he's still around right now. They have no vision. Boomy's still waiting. He's not going for this. He knows there may be more heroes. He was right to think that. He does hide, TP out. And that is really good game sense from Boomy, just to realize something was awry.
Yeah, he doesn't manage to... he doesn't waste his life there. He does give some information to his team as well, and kind of forcing GeekFam to waste a ward because of that scan. So they waste a little bit of time, but GeekFam does smoke up. I don't think that was under an observer ward, so there is some leeway here for GeekFam to try to find something.
They're running forward. Cuckoo, Prime Aurora available. They'd love to get Mac. That's the one target you want right now. They get in range. They can. Cuckoo, Prime Aurora is out. Remnants are available if you can get them off fast enough, but he definitely can't. Raven just popped the battle trance. He was not risking anything. And he will find another great kill on the troll.
It's probably the most important target for GeekFam right now as well. Mainly because he's the one that should be buying space for Natsumi. We talked about the timing of the PA. Even with that Desolator up, that's not fighting shape. You know, fighting shape is Desolator plus BKB minimum. And that's going to take a lot more farm for a hero like the PA. It's down to the Ember Spirit of Adroit to try to get that space, so finding Mac is really good punishment here from GeekFam.
Boomy, very deep. He's underneath the Sentry Ward right now. Can you initiate though, Raven? Just waiting, but again, Boomy believes something is wrong. No, in fact he doesn't. He goes back in. Mac is behind him. GeekFam being so patient, hoping Boomy comes back into that Sentry Ward range. They will not be able to find that Nyx Assassin.
I mean, he's still kind of wasting the time of GeekFam, so that is space for Natsumi. On the bright side for Adroit, not like GeekFam's not forcing out this position where they are stronger, where the BKBs aren't available on Adroit. You know, Karl hasn't quite found a kill with his Yules just yet. So this downtime is benefiting Adroit.
Getting caught out. Mac will claim another kill on the Ember. That'll make him 4-1. Not the greatest positioning there from Zephyr. I mean, you kind of just saw the Nyx Assassin around the area. That should have been enough for him to stay back, but he does not. It does cost him.
Yeah, nice little pickoff for Adroit. That does give charges to Mac on his urn. In fact, looks like he is inching closer towards that. Spirit Vessel really key up against GeekFam's draft. They've got that Oracle, they've got the Life Drain on Zephyr, so that upgrade is very important to try to slow down his pace.
Scouts out the Roshan now. Oh, this is just perfect. They've got no Sentry Wards around. Whiteman's holding one, but he hasn't placed it yet. Now he does. They'll know Boomy saw it. But he's already given as much vision as possible. Boomy is still dancing around, kind of baiting them out. He knows they know. The ball hits him now, so it's very obvious. Spy Carapace will be there. Cuckoo cops a lot of damage from that dagger from the PA. Life Drain to help him out, but they've lost the dominated creep. That's 200 gold to Bok. And Roshan is going to sit there at less than half HP. They're going to try again, but now there's a sentry ward on the other side of things, just out of range for Adroit. They won't actually find the sentry of GeekFam. But regardless, you forced them out. And now you're in this very awkward scenario if you are GeekFam, where you know how low the Roshan is, but you can't really afford to risk going back in.
It's a tough spot for GeekFam. They do smoke up, so they want to make use of this time to still find something. Are they just going to walk? No, they're not going to go walk in the Roshan. They're going to try to hunt.
Well, there's a Treant in the Roshan pit. Carl sees the Treant, won't attack, of course. GeekFam going to rotate around. Can they find a target? Boomy is still in Vendetta. They can't find him, and everybody else has left the building. So now they must assume the Roshan's safe. They will go. This could be the play. There are pings coming out. Adroit, are you aware this is happening? Apparently, maybe not. They are starting to rotate over Mac, but he needs to hurry up. In fact, he may not even go in, as Cuckoo is there with the Primal Roar on this Roshan. Boomy is coming back. Mac now realizes go for the double chains, but Carl falling low. Raven, he does get the Aegis, and it's time to run out of there. And so they do successfully manage to sneak it away from the side of Adroit. Some interesting mind games from both teams to try and avoid that Roshan going down for the other side, but GeekFam does eventually win out.
That's going to be a huge spike for GeekFam as well. They don't quite have the burst to deal with 2 lives on Raven. He doesn't have anything like a BKB yet to give him a lot more durability in that second life, but the burst damage is still kind of lacking from Adroit. They do have the Desolator up in Natsumi, building into the BKB. So once that BKB is up, Adroit's in a much better position. This is still a wide window for GeekFam. I would like to see them to find a successful kill. We haven't seen Natsumi punished any time, really. Hasn't died, so from that laning phase, just had a lot of leeway. Just a lot of pressure, but no real deaths, and that is going to cost them. You are seeing the split push effect from Bok as well. So he's starting to melt towers across.
Carl knew the PA was around, but the blur, he wasn't close enough for the blur to come off from Natsumi, so he doesn't get the Yules off. Really unfortunate, as Natsumi was basically alone in his own jungle. Now they go straight mid, they have the Desolator, so it's quite fast, but instead it looks like Boomy is trying to set up a kill onto Zephyr, and the Pugna, well, he's almost dead, but Decrepify will save his life, and now the Life Drain. Primal Roar from Cuckoo. They come in onto Mac. LSA lands. Mac is falling low. The egg will be committed, but you've lost your Ember. Can you still fight this? The egg is also going to die in time. Boomy is trying to run out of there, but it will be to no good, as GeekFam find 3. And it was really all off the back of Cuckoo's Primal Roar.
Yeah, that just gave them every single thing they needed. They just need to lock down Mac. That's enough for Adroit to fall apart. They were forced to kind of egg in a bit of an awkward situation. They couldn't really get the stun setups from Boomy to really give themselves some breathing space as well. And Natsumi, without a BKB, just has to back out. So a lot of things not lining up for Adroit. GeekFam still exploiting that weakness in this draft. And Adroit has to be very careful about how they take these fights. Yeah, Mac is pretty darn strong, but he has no defensive tools to block that roar from Cuckoo. So every single time that's up, and it's not a very long cooldown, all considered.
He gets a courier, but it's not worth your life like this.
Burns, doesn't it?
Cuckoo, great bird, or hawk I should say, just sitting on the cliff, keeping vision. A Bok is, I don't know, it's nice to go for a courier here and there, but not if you're going to die as a +3 prophet.
It's really not a worthwhile trade, and this will allow GeekFam to take a tier 2, so just a little slip up like that will put your towers under threat. They do manage to waste a fortify, but new creep wave comes in. Gonna be straightforward push.
Raven gonna start forcing in that tier 2. Like you said, straightforward. Sunray makes it a little bit difficult, but he'll be fine. Had Battle Trance anyway, and an Aegis. That'll be it. Another tier 2 tower going down. Or rather, the first one of the game going down. Now for Adroit, like, yes, you're still waiting on the BKB from Natsumi, but this is not really panning out how they would have liked. If this keeps up, GeekFam could potentially finish the game in the next 10 minutes. Even with that BKB on the PA, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough at this rate.
There's just counterplay potential from GeekFam. Decrep on the target PA jumps. Even with that BKB, you know, as long as the target PA is jumping on, she can't attack anyway. So you still have that going out here for GeekFam. Adroit has to finish that BKB, and I'd say one more item on Mac. He is going for the Maelstrom. I think you want the Lincoln sub, just to block that Beastmaster's initial roar. There is a smoke out from GeekFam. They are still trying to apply that pressure with everything they have.
I thought Carl had a haste rune for a second. Turns out he's just casually running at 550 movement speed with smoke. And 520 without it. In fact, no, it is 550 with Shadowblade now. Thing is with Carl, he did kind of break his own team smoke. Mac will TP out within safety, so they're not going to catch anyone out here. But with that TP, you'd be feeling pretty safe to just try and go for this top tier 2 tower. Odds are Adroit aren't going to try and defend anyway, because they're just not ready.
Oh, they definitely aren't. It's down to GeekFam to apply that pressure. They've grouped up all their heroes. And Adroit does have ways of maybe fighting this. They've got the egg back up. It's a level 1 egg. At 23 minutes in, it's not going to be lasting too long, so you have to be careful about where to commit it. And GeekFam, with the Aegis still up, are just, well, the Aegis is gone, but they still are quite strong to just take this tier 3.
Yeah, they've got an Aegis. Oh, in fact, never mind. Sorry, it did go, but they are very strong. Battle Trance was available. Raven, he doesn't want to deal with it. He's fine. That'll be enough. Although maybe with the BKB, he's feeling a little bit more confident. Perhaps if they could find a pick-off first, that would be the best way to get that done. Though he says no.
Oh,
take
Bach.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, see, you can't...
What's he doing?
What was he doing, John? I didn't quite spot it out.
I think he went for a warding run. That's the only reasonable thing I can see. Maybe
He
farming?
did force out the bot lane, which is great. Like, you forced Carl back. I guess sometimes you just have to tank the death to split push. But generally it's a support doing that, not a position 3 Nature's Prophet.
No. They do need a space though, so I can see the value in Bach kind of getting that done. Natsumi does manage to finish farming the BKB. This is when Adroit can kind of breathe a bit better. They do smoke up immediately, trying to make this item reveal as explosive as possible.
See how it works out. Smoked up, ready to go. They run through the mid lane. Raven would be a great target if they could just keep him stunned up before that battle trance pops. How do you initiate though? You don't really have a great stun apart from Boomy. They're going to really run around the map here trying to find the perfect way to initiate, and they just don't get there. They kind of avoid the team fight. So instead they end up on the opposite side of the map. So does GeekFam. Tier 3 items are available, so both teams could opt to just go for those first anyway.
It's a bit of a safer bet to just wait for a couple of those to come out. You'll take a look at Mac, just about to finish that Maelstrom on the Ember. That should give him a little bit more presence in these team fights. But you're still playing at an 8k deficit. So even if these item spikes are coming out for Adroit, GeekFam is still, by every metric, ahead. They've got control on the map. They've got all the items they want. They've got a good advantage. They just need to probably take this tier 2 down bot, and then the map's just going to shrink that much more for Adroit.
Well, bottom tier 2 tower, very easily taken.
Dire's bottom
No
tower
contest.
has fallen.
Looks like they may just wait for Raven to finish off what's to be a Sergeant Yasha on the troll. And he does have the Sarge coming on the courier now. So perhaps after that they look to go high ground again, or maybe they just go straight for the Roshan pit. But that'll be another 2.5 minutes. Still a while to go for that Roshan. Adroit are at least forcing in that top tier 2 tower. So you will have someone from the side of GeekFam probably come and defend that.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
And no, they're going to smoke up. They want to fight. If they did win a team fight right now, high ground is as easy as Larry, and they're going to try. They're going to move up top.
Illusion.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Zephyr's actually got a very nice... well, he did have a quickening charm. They give it over to Wyman, so now you've got much lower cooldowns on the Oracle. CML gonna get caught by Raven using the spider legs, and TP away. Cuckoo will just say no. I'll shout at you.
Not the pickup they're looking for, I'm sure, but this is still something for GeekFam. You're not gonna have that Phoenix around to at least depush a lane. Adroit not gonna be too upset about just losing their pause 5 in this case. So they've got some breathing room to just keep farming up. You still haven't seen that BKB used. You know, we talk about the timing of that first BKB usage. You want it to be as quick as possible from buying. And that hasn't come out yet for Natsumi, and that does kind of take away. Like, you could have been farming for something to quicken up your farm if you're not going to be popping that BKB anyway. So it is a bit of a sink in that sense for Adroit.
GeekFam taking it slow. 8k net worth lead, just biding their time. Raven may actually wait for a further item. MKB coming out, and once he's got that, there's no way for the Blur Evasion to really do anything. Meanwhile, Natsumi will be trying to go after a Sergeant Yasha. Interesting choice. Not sure how that's really going to work out for him. But definitely an interesting choice. It's mid lane, there may be an engagement. Cuckoo trying to find somebody. Hawk to scout out. Does have a haste rune if he does spot out someone he really wants, but looks like they are just going to take it easy and defend the Roshan pit, which is up in 5 seconds. So they're going to walk in. Do they stick around long enough? No, go back in, boys, because it is there. Cuckoo says, I'll watch the Roshan respawn. And there we go. What do you think about
SNY build-up?
Yeah,
sorry.
That's what I was going to ask you about. What do you think about the SNY?
I think it's okay. Yeah, I think the value is in disassembling to a halberd and a mat style down the line. Look at that Roche melt. My god.
Pretty quick.
It's gone.
What did they get?
Just like that? What was that? I believe that's Aegis and Cheese. Should be. That was like 10 seconds of attacking. Just like in a snap. Adroit can't even do anything. So, a lot more for GeekFam to play around with, and that's a lot more for Adroit to worry about. We still haven't seen them maximize this PA with a BKB, and at this rate, I don't think they're going to find that opportunity. GeekFam has just managed to dance around them on the map. They haven't been able to really scout out too well with Boomy. He's saving up for his Ags on the Nyx. That should give them a lot of utility in the high ground defense, but it's not a very fast progress for a support Nyx.
Yeah, is he going to have time? That's the real question here. Like, he still needs about 2.5k gold, and that's assuming he doesn't save buyback. Zephyr, going to get caught out by Boomy, but you don't have the kill-off potential. Or maybe you do. Mac, he comes in. Zephyr will use the Guardian Greaves. He gets away. Okay.
That's a pause 4, pause 5. Pause 4.
Pause 4.
Pugna with just Guardian Greaves that you can't clean up.
Of the Essence Ring, of course, as well. Like, it's not good news, that's for sure.
I mean, yeah, like he can regen up, but that's still not great news. You know, that this means the high ground push should be fairly easy for GeekFam if they play their cards right.
Well, a nice Sun Ray, but he doesn't really get it on Raven long enough. Solar Crest, who is that coming from? Cuckoo, speeding up Raven's attack even more. And I think this is one of the forgotten items that's really going to be quite potent in this current patch, that Solar Crest. Cuckoo already knows about it. Does buy it outright. Carl will be forced to TP down bot because we did have a push coming in from the Nature's Prophet, so Adroit, they do at least split push a little bit and force them back. And it's just a game about buying time for Adroit. That's all they need. They need more time. Though maybe they won't have it. Boomy, he does get spotted right now. Sprout gonna block the way for the Troll Warlord. GeekFam will not be able to find that pick-off, and it's back to the drawing board. Start pushing down bot again. Raven's almost got the full MKB up, though. I think you just wait for it. There it is.
Pretty much. It's there. It's just going to be flying out. And at that point, the Troll really has nothing to be worried about. Right? Like, he can go in, he can man-fight that PA as needed, has a BKB. If the PA does pop her BKB, you've got Roar, so you can actually expend it on the PA instead. A lot of tools still on GeekFam's side. They're just biding their time. Adroit is always going to be 9k behind. They just don't have the space on the map to close that gap. You do see Bok every now and again trying to make something happen. TPing out, shoving out the lane, coming back in for the defense. Does have the Heaven's Halberd, so that could cause issues for GeekFam if they're not careful.
I think especially once he's at the point where he can actually get a Scythe device up, that's when things get very, very scary for GeekFam. But it's such an expensive item, it's going to be a very, very long time. But he can keep doing this. He can keep pushing out top, making GeekFam rotate one bot. And Carl will always essentially have to be here for another 40 seconds until his TP is available again. Adroit, they do have those outscaling heroes on their draft. Like, they can definitely scale way better in the late game. And that late game is borderline here now. That maybe just another 10 minutes for them to get as much gold as they need up. And they can actually push this back quite nicely.
Yeah, I'm surprised with the caution that GeekFam's showing. Like, so much respect for Adroit's power, but they've had this lead for a very long time, and they just feel like it's not enough. Even though, again, they've had ways to deal with the PA, they've had ways to deal with the Ember. They're just not comfy with going and actually playing all in, and they might force a fight right when the Aegis expires, which is never good.
Raven burning. Soul Crest put on him again. He does get impaled up by Boomy. Raven, Spike Carapace, not going to affect him, or maybe it does. Raw going to be there. They will get Boomy. That's nice. Keeps hitting away, but no, they're a bit afraid. They're still kind of walking back. You do have that 10-second charge on the BKB. But GeekFam are going to take this very, very slowly, and it's not very helpful when you have a repair kit on the side of Adroit. They do get the tier 3, but the Aegis expires, and that's it. They need to get the hell out of there. And Adroit, they buy back on Boomy. This could be a big team fight, but they need to really all be there. Zeph will be the first target, but he will decrepify. Raven now turns around. Boomy does not get the stun off, as they do have a gem. And that'll be a dieback on Boomy, and now they look for more. It looks like CML has been controlled up by the Centaur of Cuckoo. Great micro from this Beastmaster just within the teamfight itself. They'll buy back on the Phoenix now. Backdoor protection, not going to help when it's a Lina and a Troll. Silence up the Troll. He doesn't really care. He doesn't really have much spells to spam anyway. Carl, do you want to go for a secondary Rax? They won't. Well, Raven says I want to. So onto Carl. Yules gonna purge that off. Bok now needs to back off, but Primal Roar again comes out from Cuckoo with the follow-up stun. No follow-up to it though. Natsumi now, he'll clear up Cuckoo. Wyman's also down. Zephyr, decrepified, but Sunray to come in from CML. That's only amplifying the damage. Now Battle Trance there from Raven as Natsumi. He'll chase after Carl, and Carl's been silenced up. He should be able to clean this up as he does use him up. Trying to run away, but they sprout him. Meanwhile, Raven in the back getting Mac and finding CML, but they will lose the mid laner. Bok will TP out, and it looks like both position 1s will remain alive. But that was a very successful team fight for Adroit. It was a 2-for-4 trade.
Just a lot of space given to Natsumi. Natsumi just walks around them with the blur, perfectly around where the tier 2 used to be in that jungle area, immediately jumps the Oracle. That's the primary target that they had to take care of. And without Whitemon, there's just no sustain.
Heaven's Halberd, Bok, do you have a TP? He's using it. Oh, but he gets ensnared.
Oh no.
He was so close. He was half a second away, and the first hit ensnares him. Sometimes all the luck is on another person's side, and Carl will tip him. Thank you, Ice Frog.
It just doesn't go your way sometimes. Still, Adroit gonna be pretty happy with that trade. Natsumi gets a lot and finally does use that first BKB charge. You suddenly have a basher in this PA, and that's when things start to tip over, right? You have the long range stifling dagger bash that can potentially happen, and there's really no counterplay for that, right? Like, it's either... No, if it happens, it happens, and then suddenly everything falls apart. That is what Adroit should be depending on next. Once you have the Abyssal, of course, that's going to be a lot more consistent for RPA, but that's still a fair bit of farm for Natsumi to try to work into. It does feel like GeekFam is going to be thinking twice about any sort of push. There are racks ahead. They're just playing cautiously.
Way too cautiously. You got to Satanic up now on Raven. He's 6-slotted. You could get rid of the treads, I guess. But it's 37 minutes in. They had such a lead, a 10k lead, and they had all the tools available to them. Adroit are kind of back into it now. Like, yeah, they're still behind in net worth, but they have the tools of the comeback, and this Roshan fight could really decide what happens, as it is going to go down quite fast, but Boomy's going to run in with his team, smoked up. He does scout it out. Cuckoo knows. Spike Carapace, Impel, both misses, but they get the chains off, and now they look to blow up Cuckoo. Primal Roar does come out in time, and it is onto Mac. Can they get him down? Battle Trance is there. The Sleight of Fist is not enough, but the egg will drop. CML trying to get the Sunray out now as Bok also dies. The buyback's immediate from Adroit. They cannot afford to allow the Roshan to drop to the side of GeekFam. So Boomy, he jumps in again. Carl is getting this Roshan job done himself as Raven jumps back in. Bok, Sprout gives vision. How do they jump in? They don't. Natsumi.
Oh, no.
What's he got? The Aegis is already gone. He picks up nothing. He needs to get out of there. In fact, no, he'll go for a fight. He does find Cuckoo. Can they get Raven, however? Raven pops the BKB. Mac's been stunned up. He'll go down, and that's a dieback on the Ember Spirit. And Adroit, just seemingly too desperate, jumping in but not having the whole really team coordination to make the Aegis still happen. And Boomy also going to go down. That's a dieback on Mac and Boomy. MKB now up on Carl to make matters worse, and this game should theoretically be over. Should. You still do have some potential if Natsumi can get some amazing crits off. Bok will try sprouting the racks, and that also works. But they're going to go for tier 4s. GeekFam, they have had enough of this game. They know they cannot drag this out any longer. And with no buybacks, Adroit, you've got to jump in and fight. Sunray will be there on Raven. Not enough. Life Drain will just keep Raven up, as Bok now silences Heaven's Halberd to try and save him, but Raven just keeps moving forward. Bok is running towards the fountain. Natsumi meanwhile jumps in, but Primal Roar is there, and wow, Raven hits hard. He hits really, really hard right now, as they found CML. The GG's been called. GeekFam do pull off the Game 1 victory.
Yeah, it took them a while. They did have a solid lead for a very long time. It looked like they were giving Adroit a little bit of space back, but they do manage to clean up at the 40-minute mark. Quite decisively, although very patiently as well. A lot of respect towards Adroit's potential there, and GeekFam did play the safe game, do take Game 1. Would like to see Adroit shake it up for Game 2. They fall back to that PA, which does give them success sometimes. I think it really just depends on the draft. Against a team like GeekFam, you have to get enough space for Natsumi, and they just lost out in that lane. The key issue was that Mac was not online fast enough to buy that space, and it just fell apart from there.
Oh good, restoring connection to the Dota 2 game coordinator. I love seeing this message when we're casting. There it goes. Thank you for that, Mr. Gaben. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. We'll be back with you very, very soon. To be exact, 10 minutes from now for game number 2. See you then.
Radiant victory.
Loot Bet. Made for live betting.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for the second game of this best of three series between GeekFam and, of course, Adroit. It is MLP Dota and the lovely John Expired. John, I've got to give you an update, sir. Yesterday, we saw a tweet from Boom Esports, excuse me. They said that they would beat Fnatic. Didn't happen. I was scrolling through Twitter in our break. Adroit tweeted at Reality Rift and said, well played, Reality Rift. We'll get him for you. Don't worry about it. We'll get Boom Esports. We'll get him back for you. They tweeted it out.
Oh, man.
And I don't know if they're cursing them. These teams are cursing themselves or something on Twitter, John, because GeekFam is now one game ahead. And Adroit was being a little bit sarcastic in their Twitter, on their tweet. And now maybe they're one game away from being knocked out. I suppose I should premise this by saying, what do they need to do differently in game number 2?
Dire team ban.
They have to play the game at their own pace. I think they've got to get that farm distribution right. The tendency with Adroit is they prioritize Boomy a lot. So if you notice, they give him a Nyx, they give him a Magnus. These heroes do need a little bit more to get going. They did try to get some early rotations out. That didn't pay off. You had to factor in Mac didn't win his lane. He lost it pretty hard up against the Lina. So that matchup was just not favorable. I think you need to get at least one of these lanes going. Your PA lane was kind of just meh. It wasn't really winning out. So the timings were off. GeekFam just ran at them. I think if they go back to that PA, they should go for a Magnus. But with Adroit first picking that Shaker, that's more than likely going to be the Boomy hero, which is something he's comfy with as well. So this is actually a good pickup. I think this is something they're very comfy with. GeekFam, very confidently though, goes straight to the Kotal Ember. So we know how devastating that combination is. Even if the Keeper of the Light has been nerfed a bit, it still gives you pretty decent laning presence. The Will-O-Wisp is still always going to be strong, and the Ember Spirit, of course, is just a massive nuisance, no matter what side you're on.
Kotal Ember is disgusting. Chakra magic after Sleight of Fist resets Sleight of Fist. Like, it's double Sleight of Fist over and over again. I love the start though. I agree with you. Adroit, they give Boomy something that I'd say can be much more influential in this game. Because Earthshaker is one of those heroes where it's not like a Nyx Assassin where once you've passed the mid-game mark, he kind of drops off in damage. He can't really change a team fight unless you land a huge impale, but that's a lot easier said than done. With an Earthshaker, however, you get a blink up. Echo Slam's always good. It never gets bad. Fish is always good.
For sure. It really is. Like it. And we have seen Boomy play this a lot. It's something he excels at. He does love these playmaking heroes that are a bit flashier. Nyx is just not that flashy. His best heroes have been Shaker, Magnus, which, again, is kind of ignored. Adroit do pick up the Silencer. So they have this way of keeping that Ember down, right? So the Global Silence is in play. You can kind of build up with your Earthshaker. Like, there is a lot of potential there. If they run an aggressive tri-lane, you start racking in the end. So there's a potential there. It just has a few weaknesses. That Silencer's presence can be middling at best, and that is certainly something GeekFam can look to exploit. Like, if they don't get that good start with the Silencer, they don't find those early kills, it kind of soaks a lot of EXP to reach that level 6.
Right, like you've got an Ember. Like, Ember loves these kind of squishy supports to pick on. Generally speaking, as a Silencer, you don't really want to commit Global Silence just because you're being ganked. You've just got to accept the fact that you're just going to die.
5 seconds remaining.
I don't know. I see where they're going with this Silencer pick, but this early on, it seems like GeekFam, they're just going to be able to abuse it. There's a hero that can really abuse it. The Clockwork. Hookshot, Battery Assault, dead. Silence is free food for this Clockwork. Even up against the Earthshaker, you may have seen, John, but you can't Fisher with Battery Assault on top of you. The animation's way too long. I really like this from GeekFam. Not to mention, you give Vision with the Rocket Flare for the Ember. Easy Remnant, easy Sleight of Fist, easy Chains, every single time. I think GeekFam's already got a better draft going. I think we could both agree on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Adroit needs to get something going.
it's just that this clock is going to cause so many issues for Adroit, and they have kind of tunneled themselves into their two supports. We've seen a lot of teams actually do that in the first phase. Two supports off, suddenly you have gaps there that can be exploited. GeekFam is exploiting that with the clockwork, and they could possibly widen that by their core picks. We haven't even seen their other cores beyond the Ember Spirit, which is just again another solid laner. Adroit, they need to tie this draft up a bit better. I think you should look at Box here is really going to be the one to counteract this. So there are a couple of options there. They did ban out the Batrider themselves, so that's not going to be in the pool. And I think for the most part, maybe you go with something a bit more stable. Maybe you look at something like the Centaur, just to give yourself that solid stun with the Shaker. You do have some burst potential in that laning phase with a Silencer, so that is something Adroit can try playing around. They go with the Legion Commander, so that gives them some additional lockdown for the Ember Spirit. You jump in, get the duel off, and Ember's stuck there. Early on, his damage is coming out from spell usage, so if you can get that duel, you have two scaling heroes that can build off of that. The LC wins a duel, Silencer steals some int, everyone's going to be happy, but you have to play around that duel. And it's not easy to get that duel off on a hero like Ember without a blink or Shadow Blade. So that does take some time. And it's a slow time because it's not an immediate pickup for most LCs.
Not to mention, LC into Keeper of the Light is not always the greatest matchup, right? Because you get a duel off, Blinding Light comes out, suddenly you do nothing in the duel. GeekFam go into the Pugna now. Decrepify really sucks when you're trying to get a duel off. It's a good LC game, like you said. You catch the Ember. That's what you want. There is essentially free duel damage in the Coddle as well, and the Pugna. You catch them with the duel, you're getting free damage. It's as simple as that. Okay. Adroit go for the Lycan. I don't know how to feel about it, John. Like, this isn't he doesn't really have other friends that push well with him. So they're really relying on that Lycan alone to provide that push potential. But into a Pugna, a Keeper of the Light, and an Ember Spirit? Like all these three heroes defend high ground really, really well up against Lycan creeps. Like, it's not that big of a problem.
Nah. And even the clockwork is pretty darn good against a Lycan. Like, you get the cogs off, he's kind of stuck there, and he gets pushed back. You don't tend to farm a fast VKB on Lycan. Just tends to not be a priority. So that's something that's going to be a consistent issue for Adroit. Now, this does give them a bit of an earlier timer. This does give them a way to take those objectives. But as you mentioned, the Keeper of the Light can already deal with that. Ember Spirit can already burn through your creeps. Pugna can just decrep whoever you're running at, or just Nether Blast your creeps. So the response is there in GeekFam's draft. A lot of value from that Pugna pick with his Lycan pick for Adroit. They need something to tie it in. And the thing about these picks from GeekFam is that Adroit supports, like, the Shaker can do something, but Silencer in this case is really just starting to look a bit lackluster, especially with that Pugna. Like, you get the decrep off, Silencer actually can't do anything. Like, he can't damage, he can just cast his spells, which is fine in the laning phase, that's really potent. As you go past that point, you just lack a lot. Like, you're taking away the threat potential from the right clicks that the Silencer has from stealing his int as well. So Adroit has to pull something out here for the last pick. The Storm Spirit was banned out by GeekFam. I like that. It's certainly something their supports don't deal with well, although you do have the Pugna to kind of burn through his mana just a bit. But the Keeper of the Light and Clockwork don't have the best stuns to keep that hero in place, so it's a smart ban out for Geek. But I'm not sure what the Adroit can pick to fill in that gap. They go with the Queen of Pain. Still goes in and out. It's into a Pugna. See, that's terrifying as well. Like, her spells cost huge mana, especially her ult. And if there's a Nether Ward around, we've seen Queen of Pains kill themselves to that Nether Ward.
It is nice into the Ember though, right? Like, in terms of laning phase, when you're up against the Ember, Shadow Strike is so infuriating for the Ember Spirit. Sure, you've got Flame Guard, but it's still, that slow is ridiculous. And I think that's the idea here for Adroit. They're just going to be able to really shut down Carl's Ember, assuming Carl does go mid, which I believe he will be mid on the Ember. GeekFam, they do still have one pick to try and counter this Queen of Pain, and like you already mentioned, the Pugna Nether Ward is going to be really, really dangerous for this Quap. And now we have an Underlord. Even better D push, great against the Lycan, destroys him in lane, sort of destroy. You don't say completely destroys him, but it makes it a lot harder, for sure. Who came out with the better craft, John?
GeekFam. Just for me, it's GeekFam. It's the control they got. It's the D-push they have up against this kind of lineup Adroit has. There are ways for Adroit to make this draft work. It's a very specific case. They have to play it near perfectly. Key thing is get Bok big. Have this guy win his duels. Have him be a massive threat. This is one of those games where you would actually say Blink Dagger or Shadow Blade first on Legion Commanders, not too bad. A lot of teams have been putting that in the sideline. But you want to build off with Bok here and CML. You want CML to be around to sap some of that int, sap some of that potency away. You do have Mac who can help you win those duels. You do have to worry about, we mentioned it earlier, Keeper of the Light. Pugna does kind of interrupt that. So a lot of factors in play. There are ways for Adroit to make it work. It's just easier for GeekFam to run over. Their draft is just so much easier to pull off.
With that, John, we are going to go into game number 2. We'll switch over to the draft, and it should be a really fun game between these two. Of course, a lot of pressure here on Adroit to really try and pull off this victory. GeekFam, 1 game ahead. Love to get a 2-0 victory up against Adroit and proceed through the lower bracket. Winner of this series, of course, is going to be up against Boomer Esports. So no matter who wins this, it is going to be a pretty hard matchup waiting for them across the next bracket. But we don't think about that for now, right? You've just got to get through this series first, because the loser does get knocked out completely.
Yeah, it's a situation for Adroit where they are up against the wall, 1 game behind. They need to win game number 2. And GeekFam, well, they have a lot more leeway now, but you'd still want to just close it out. And again, their draft is just looking really solid. Something we didn't point out, they're actually going with Carl mid on the Pugna to counteract that Quap matchup.
I don't mind that. Pugna mid can be very, very infuriating to play against, because you will have the Zephyr clockwork, and we always talk about the POS 3 clockwork not being the greatest POS 3. Like, we always talk about how it should probably just be played as a position 4. And so it does make me happy to see that GeekFam aren't giving that much priority over to the clockwork, who can do everything without really requiring that amount of farm priority.
Yeah, it's going to be something else to watch out for, I think, is his lane partnership with level 1 Battery Assault. You do have some potential. I think you would have to wait for level 3 on Cuckoo if he's going to stay up top. You don't tend to invest in early Pits of Malice.
The battle begins.
Looks like it might be a 2-for-2 bounty rune trade. Boomy gets a nice fish off, which is going to help Bok chase down Whiteman a bit more, but he'll be fine. Let's get out of there. Bok actually takes a fair bit of damage himself, and actually is forced to go for the overwhelming odds at level 1. Not exactly your most preferred skill at level 1 as an LC, but that's what he's going to be dealing with.
I think that's fine. It gives you a lot more damage potential in that lane. It is fairly costly, so you will have to think twice about using it every single time, but it does allow you to shove out a wave, apply some damage on Whitemon and Raven, and that should just make these initial levels for Raven just a bit, well, not too much more challenging. It's still an Ember Spirit. It's still going to be able to hold its own by the time you hit level 2 even, in this case.
Plus mid lane, you do see Mac up against Carl once again. Mac finding himself with a nice little advantage early on. Carl should be able to catch up a little bit with these creeps underneath his tower. He actually did end up going for the level 1 Nether Ward as well, so just really wanting to make it a little bit more challenging for the Mac Queen of Pain, but we are going to have a very early rotation here from Boomy. Carl is about half HP right now. Does drop the Nether Ward, but that's definitely not going to save his life if they do make the jump. Mac may just ask to wait for the level 3, though no. The Fissure doesn't connect, and Boomy doesn't get the block off. Carl is sticking around, though. Carl, you need to get out of there. You will just wait out the Fissure. Boomy does give him quite a bit of harass, and Carl, at least he does have 2 tangos remaining, so it should be okay.
Yeah, it's just a bit of time wasted for Boomy. You would have loved to see that kill. You did invest in early boots of travel, boots of speed on that Shaker just to get these rotations out, so just missing out on that will hurt you a bit. This is something that Boomy always kind of does, though. Just early rotations to try to build up for himself on a very active pause 4.
So we haven't seen any rotations yet from Zephyr, but that's mostly because he's at level 1. I suppose that's the real difference here between an Earthshaker pause 4 and a Clockwork Boomy. Again, not the greatest Fissure.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Carl, although it is still making him lose quite a bit of CS here to Mac, the fact that he isn't dying is pretty big. Like, as a Pugner, you don't really care too much about gold, more so than you do XP, because Pugner's really effective without the gold anyway. Like, he just needs levels.
For sure. It's like, he's still finding what he wants, even if he's not finding those last hits. Should be able to apply some pressure on that tier 1 soon. Does have a level advantage over Mac, even if it's just a bit. So, he's got himself pretty nicely set up, and Mac actually just drops very low from exchanging here.
Why? Carl, he wants this. We saw this last game. He did die doing this. Nether Blast gonna miss, and yeah, he's dead. Scream comes in though, no. Nice D-aggro on the T1. He gets the kill! Oh, that was really nice by Carl. Like, I thought we were gonna have a repeat of game 1 where he died as the Lina underneath the mid tier 1 tower. But the D-aggro was real quick as the creep wave was running in. And the one to misplay it is apparently Mac on the Queen of Pain.
Yeah, just a lot more going the way of Carl. He even forces out the rotation from CML, so he is wasting a bit of time there down mid. Does find Zephyr to trade blows with, but I think Zephyr's going to be fine with popping that battery assault to get some damage on.
Kind of intrigued that Zephyr went for the Rocket Flare at level 1, to be honest with you. Usually you do see the cogs. It's usually quite effective on a roaming Clockwork, having those level 2 cogs up. Cogs up at level 2, but does opt to try for the Rocket Flare instead.
I think that might have been down to the fact that they weren't sure if they were going to find that Mac kill, so they had a rocket on standby in case he was around that area. With 80 damage, that might have been enough to clean up. He was fairly low.
It does make him suffer a little bit in this this safe lane of the Dire, though, right? Because right now, if you had cogs, that would have been a kill. It may still be one. CML getting chased down, and he does get it.
Still makes
But
it work.
even with trying to just force Natsumi not to get last hits, like that cogs pushback when he does go in for a CS is also very, very nice to have. But apparently Zephyr doesn't need it.
Yeah, he's just making it work as is. I think that's perfectly fine. He will have it by the time he hits level 4 for sure. And he's just about halfway, so the EXP progression for our clock is definitely up there. You compare that to Boomy's progression, he's at level 2 as well, but much further behind from that level 3 turning point. It's not good progression. He has been investing a lot of time down mid to no real success. And this is going to be a constant issue for Adroit. They're not finding the EXP they need on Boomy's playmaking hero. They're not really winning out on pretty much most of their lanes. The only one that's going fine is that top lane, but Cuckoo with his Firestorm should be able to just maintain some farm parity there.
Re-hero rotation onto Whiteman. Does go down. Bok will claim the kill. They didn't have Jewel available. I thought perhaps they're making this early rotation to get some nice Jewel damage in. But it wasn't the case, and now Zephyr gonna chase down Boomy a little bit, but CML is gonna be there to help. Zephyr will just gladly walk out for free. A lot of priority there to kill the Coddle. I don't really think they'll mind losing the Coddle like that. Wyman, he'll just run his way back.
I think it's down to the fact that Adroit does feel some pressure to find these early kills. Like, you have Boomy on the Shaker. He has been walking around the map. They do want to find something. And they finally did, but again, it's not a high priority kill. White one doesn't really care too much. And the side lanes are still going okay for GeekFam. Like, that top lane is probably the best lane for Adroit. Even then, Cuckoo's just kind of maintaining it with that Lycan anyway. So it's fairly even, all things considered.
And we do have a disconnect from Whiteman. He'll be back pretty soon, I'm sure. Apart from that, all props to the Ember. Raven having a great old time. 42 last hits, 13 denies. Closely followed by the Queen of Pain, Mac, at 34 and 6. Of course, you do have Carl there on the Pugner at 33 and 7. The one outlier right now is Natsumi, who's really fallen behind the Ember. 32 and 7 on the Lycan. And of course, it's going to be due to the fact that he is up against an Underlord, and Cuckoo with a Trophy Aura is just... I mean, it's just such an obnoxious ability to have. It's so impossible to last hit up against an Underlord with that Aura up. And looks like he may just commit to going to the jungle for a bit as that Lycan, and that is something you can do, to be fair. We are approaching that 7.5 minute mark, so neutrals are going to start dropping. Neutral items are going to start dropping very soon. Maybe he gets lucky and finds, you know, something like an Iron Talon and helps him farm even faster.
It was your own damn.
Yeah, he's at a pretty decent pace anyway. About to finish that Dominator. So he does have a pretty good time in the jungle now. I think this is the perfect time for him to dip in.
Okay.
Just about, what is that, 15 gold away, 16 gold away. So once that's up, jungle farm is going to accelerate. Should hit level 6 around that point as well, or shortly after the Dominator. And that should allow Adroit to start applying that pressure they need. Right? They haven't really applied too much pressure on the heroes of GeekFam. We did see, for the most part, Boomy tried to do it down mid, but the Fishers just weren't keeping Carl in place. You don't really see any pressure at all in Raven, top of the last hits board now. There's really just not much you can expect from Bach to get done there.
Good.
And overall, just a pretty smooth start for GeekFam. It's not an overwhelming win in the laning phase for them. Like, there are still opportunities here for Adroit. But, I don't know, every time I just look at Boomy and that he's at level 2, even the Keeper of the Lights ahead for Shaker, that's definitely not where you want that pause for Shaker to be in. He has to be a bit greedier. He has to get a little bit more EXP. He's just behind.
It is problematic. Especially considering with this draft that Adroit has, they have to finish the game a lot quicker than GeekFam do. You could make the argument that GeekFam's draft doesn't exactly scale well either. I don't know though, like, you're going to have to push into an Underlord, a Pugner, and an Ember. It's never going to be fun doing that. So, you want to really get to that point where you can push high ground before they're at the point where they can defend so easily. Still waiting on Whiteman to reconnect on the Keeper of the Light. I suppose because we do have a pause. No, never mind. Never mind. The reconnection is going to be back. Thought I was going to have to bring out the mukbang casting again, John, but not tonight.
I am hungry as well. But, let's spot out CML.
Gets caught there by Carl, and Carl has a haste rune, so he moves forward into Mac. Life drain, not going to be enough. Of course, Mac can just blink away. This really nice start for the Pugner, currently sitting at 2-0 at 7 minutes in, and just continuing to find more farm up. Is substantially behind in CS, but again, it's all about the levels for this hero.
He's finding it. He should be able to apply a lot more pressure on this mid-tier 1. You already see some investment from Adroit to keep that area in check. They do catch Zephyr out.
He has no cogs, this is a problem. So, block is there from Natsumi, though his wolf expires. That's unfortunate. And they actually don't chase him down.
No punishment coming out.
Bot
They just
lane.
can't.
Raven was jeweled up. They do bring Mac in and get the Sonic Wave to really finish him off. Boomy was the one to claim that kill on the Earthshaker, and now Whiteman also goes down on the Keeper of the Light. Bok will be the one to get that one. Nice rotation from Mac. If he hadn't been there, that definitely would not have landed him a kill.
Is under attack.
They really needed those early kills. They just gave way too much space towards Raven. They didn't manage to get a dual win onto Bok, so that's a bit of a shame, but you're not going to be too upset. You still found 2 targets that were having a free time. That does kind of just take back a little bit from GeekFam's nice start. And you do at least get some more EXP onto Boomy, inching towards that level 4. Is saving up for the Blink Dagger, and he is getting priority for the Tome, so he should be able to do a lot more as we approach that 10-minute mark. I think the Blink is going to be a bit slow for a pause for Shaker, though.
He's trying.
Are scanning.
We actually blink out to the top lane because Cuckoo has been forcing this lane in, and he did find that tier 1 top tower. It's always a threat of an Underlord, isn't it? Like, you've always got to be careful about what Cuckoo's up to.
Radiant structures
With that
are
bonus damage he gets from a trophy aura as well, he does push pretty quick. So if you don't respond to the Underlord, he will just continue to take down towers and farm up these creep waves freely.
Yeah, he's not been contested, pretty much. So when you leave him alone like that, he will just melt right through. He has been farming up quite nicely, although it's not too amazing, but it's an Underlord. You can't really ask for much more. In fact, he is pressuring Boomy out. So they at least have the Shaker up there, but you expect Adroit to actually be the one doing this, right? They have a level 7 Lycan, they have the Dominator up. You want them to start taking the objectives. They haven't quite found themselves ready to commit that hard yet.
Well, I think you're at least going to have to find one pickoff before you can. There's just so many answers to stopping the push on GeekFam with their draft. I just don't think you can afford to make the push if you aren't at least going into a 5v4. They're going to try now. Mac jumps in, but that's so much damage coming out. Carl picks up a kill. They get a duel off onto Zephyr, and they'll win that duel. It's a 1-for-1, and now they will go on to Carl. He does have to Crepify now as Chakra Magic comes in, and Pit of Malice will be dropped. So supports go down. Each team gets a free kill for themselves, but
Bounty.
the problem with for Adroit, they're not finding any objectives.
No, they had to expend a Shapeshift on Natsumi to find a Clockwork kill. They don't manage to find the outpost. They didn't push a tower down. This is playing against what Adroit would like to do with his draft, although they are still clumping up on that bot tier 1. There's no real targets to kill off. They could take the tower. There is Whitemon to punish.
Well, Mac should be able to kill Wyman, but he just TPs. Oh, Sonic Wave will be enough, Mac.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Had enough of these shenanigans. That'll open up that bot tier 1. Raven, however, finds CML, so 2 supports going down, 1-for-1 again. You don't really want to take a bot tier 1 for a mid tier 1. It's not a great trade for Adroit. Bok will be the only one to defend it now. He gets chained up. This could be very, very bad. Life Drain with Decrepify, but they can't lock him down. He'll be okay, but they are going to lose that mid tier 1 tower.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Not the best trade in the world for Adroit. Like, they do take an objective. It's not a very major objective at this point. GeekFam is not too concerned about that bot lane. Giving away your tier 1 down mid, of course, is much bigger. GeekFam, they already had the tier 1 up top. This is going to open the far reaches of that top jungle, which means that you're going to be limited in the areas where Natsumi can farm. He is starting to farm in the opposing jungle, so that's really the only thing you can hope for. Boomy is caught out. And gone.
Yeah. That's the strength of the GeekFam draft, though. They find you with Rocket Flare, and they just kill you. Zephyr didn't even hookshot for that.
Yeah, just walked up, found it, and took him away. You do have pretty good farm all of a sudden on Boomy, though. 1.5k in the bank. So he is inching towards that blink, and the one thing with Adroit is they play slow like this. They try to buy space for their pause for. The moment the blink's up, that's when they kick it into gear. So perhaps that's just what they're waiting for in this game. A lot of pressure onto Boomy, though, to really land those slams, but we have seen him perform before.
Well, Natsumi also has the Necro 1 hook up. Decent timing, 12.5 minutes. So the tools are starting to come together for GeekFam, but they not for GeekFam, for Adroit, but GeekFam do smoke up. CML, easy target. Zephyr will just hook shot, claim the kill. Wolf form will be popped by the Lycan. They're going to fight this. Bok is coming in. Fisher is also there. Pit and Malice to really block them in, and now the Will-O-Wisp to be dropped, and they just can't retaliate.
Dire's courier has been killed.
In fact, why is not Sumi's courier there? He may have mismicroed the courier with the rest of his creeps. I know personally, John, I do that quite a lot when I play Lycan, and he unfortunately left it near Cuckoo.
Well, not too big of a loss for him. I mean, he already got his Necro 1. It is going to delay the timing of the other items just a touch, but not too bad there. Overall, GeekFam didn't find the biggest heroes to kill. They only really found CML. They might be able to find Boomy, but he does just walk away. Although a lot of heroes from GeekFam trying to move up.
Looks like they want that bottom tier 1 tower. Just get every outer tower from the side of Adroit. With Nether Blast, we know it's very, very quick. Chain's going to be out on Boomy. Now Zephyr will rotate in. It does get the cogs off with the Battery Assault. Nice Pit of Malice. Raven doesn't have another Chains, but they do get the Earthshaker. And now you know there's no way to defend. The only thing is, they are losing their mid tier 1, but Cuckoo will rotate as the Underlord. He'll have Carl to follow up, and they will defend successfully.
If they manage to defend that tier 1, they're going to be able to find that tier 1 down. But that combination coming out from GeekFam, cogs into the pit, is just so strong. You can't run out if you don't have a blink. You're just going to be pretty much stuck twice over.
Mac avoiding chains coming out from Raven. Very, very close call. It's like Raven's going to go for a bit of a reset. They are going to stick around. They still want the bottom tier 1, and it's almost down anyway. One more Nether Blast will do it. They'll try to go for the deny, but they will be unsuccessful. And now a nice Pit of Malice coming in. Decrepify from Carl onto Bok.
Ooh.
And man, that is a lot of damage from that Firestorm. Now Natsumi will form up. Where are we going? He's going after Zephyr. Echo being committed by Boomy onto 1. They're going to throw everything to get this clockwork. And they're going to try and rotate into the mid-tier 1 tower after that. I believe GeekFam should be able to defend, and yeah, Cuckoo's here.
They found a kill. You're going to take that pick off. It definitely is, but they're going to take whatever they can get. You are slowly inching to that blink, right? Boomy's just about 30 gold away, so he basically has that blink dagger up. Won't be able to Echo Slam because he had to expend it. But you have a big tool here for Adroit, although he is probably going to die here.
I don't think he minds. Like, he got the blink now. It's probably why they were so desperate to save him that last time as Zephyr was after him. They just couldn't afford to delay the blink any longer. At least now that he has it, you know, he can actually help out. Nice chains on the Quap. She is pretty low. Life Drain won't be enough, but Remnants forward. She doesn't have blink. It's Global Silence will be committed. CML will not allow it. Will he get punished for this? He does. Chains coming out. Carl should be able to blow him up and does drain the life out of him. And now I realize, by the way, why the damage from Firestorm was so high. Carl has Decrepify plus Veil. So Firestorm really does a lot of damage. Bok jumps in. There's that blinding light we talked about. And now Zephyr, he found Boomy. So you're going to have no real backup here from the Earthshaker, who's just trying to run away. The Will-O-Wisp is going to come out. Boomy is still being chased down, and the Remnants forward. They do get the kill. Mac, you've got to get out of there. Raven has chains again. He will chain him up. Carl, can you blow him up in time? Not quite. He will be able to blink out. Now they try and turn this one, but can you really do it? Natsumi has joined. The Dark Rift is there from Cuckoo. They'll lose Raven. Can they get out? Cuckoo, he's so close to dying, but he does get him out. Still, you're not going to be too happy about losing Raven like that. It does end up ultimately being a 1-for-1 trade. Adroit shouldn't be too upset.
Yeah, they still found a couple of nice kills. They didn't manage to get the duel win. I want to point out something. Carl decrept right as the LC started duel. That was just really quick of a tap from him, knowing that he was going to get jumped. And they aren't finding any real wins on the LC. They only have one win so far at 17 minutes in. Not the best start. So they're mitigating that from GeekFam. You would have to be a bit more careful with Raven. He is going for a Desolator build, actually. So just full right-click build from our Ember. No defensive items just yet. Would like to see
Hook
fast
shot.
BB.
Bok getting caught in the cogs. Peter Malice going to hold down Mac, but he'll be fine. Now Natsumi getting run of A tossed up by Cuckoo and Mac. He will at least find Zephyr. Natsumi Echo comes in. Boomy! He connects on two. It's a lot of damage. And that's what we were waiting for from Adroit. They will go after the tier 1 now. Peter Malice, Carl, that is not safe. Global Silence comes out. Boomy right in front. Gets a triple kill on the Earthshaker. They'll go after Zephyr. He does get the Fisher, but it's on the wrong side. Still Mac moving forward. He wants Cuckoo. He does get the Unlord, and this should be a full team wipe. Boomy is looping around. They'll give Mac a double and a full team wipe for Adroit. Off the back of the Echo Slam coming out from this Earthshaker.
Are fortified.
That investment into Boomy cost them a lot early on. They were bleeding some space. It comes right back out. This is what we see from Adroit every single time they go for this kind of draft. A much greedier sort of draft with Boomy. They just wait out that period, try to ride through that wave, and then suddenly you have this huge playmaking support that gets things done for you. So GeekFam, they've got to be a lot more careful. They've got to respect the potential Adroit has now. And Adroit, off the back of that, 6k lead and a Roshan.
They smoked up. They're going to move in. They're still going for the team fight. They know Shapeshift isn't available as well as Global Silence, but they're not able to find anybody. And I do agree with your sentiment, John. Like, if Boomy is not... If you don't know where the man is and what he's doing, you can't fight. It's just way too dangerous. We saw Zephyr. He's constantly trying to keep eyes out onto Boomy. But when Zephyr dies like that, the fight should just be over for GeekFam, it seems.
Yeah, they rely a lot on the disruptiveness of this clock to find anything. They get scanned out and trying to get that rotation off as well, so GeekFam not going to be able to punish. I love seeing this coming out from Boomy, though. Look at that Shaker just building into the BKB immediately. Just, he's basically not a support. He's just a core. It's like a 4-core lineup for Adroit.
We can't afford to be stopped by the clock, and you know suddenly Adroit has an 8k net worth lead. That was fast. Raven gets caught out. They have the silence there from Max. Sonic Wave immediately comes out on the Will-O-Wisp. They tried to save. It will be no good, and Mac wants more. He saw Cuckoo. He wants this Underlord. Dark Rift immediately. Meanwhile, Zephyr ends up losing his life. Looks like Bok committed Jewel. Does get the victory. They lost CML, but you'd love the Jewel victory over the Silencer anyway. Carl gonna TP out in front of them, but Cuckoo again is the target they really want as a nice hoof stomp comes out from Natsumi's dominated creep, and it looks like Cuckoo will eventually melt. And now Adroit, they are looking significantly scarier.
Yeah, they keep finding the favorable trades. They manage to melt through these towers after each trade. You do have the fortify up for GeekFam, so that will slow down the push. But that's not really going to stop a Lycan. They're going to be able to find this tier 2. And the map is slowly but surely shrinking now for GeekFam after... Well, they weren't really in a huge net worth lead for a while. It did feel like they had that early momentum. They have kind of bled that out. It's their turn to really start to build back up. You take a look at Raven. He's trying to go for the full right-click build on that Ember. I believe he has his Desolator, which should be coming out at some point from his courier. Or, no, he's actually just skipping that Desolator, going straight for Battle Fury first.
I'm surprised his farm is so low. He was doing so well before, and now he's just so far behind. Speaking of, I wonder if they'll find Bok in the tree line right now, just kind of standing there chilling out. They won't. Bok will be fine. GeekFam, you can tell they're playing a lot more cautiously now. They're being very hesitant as to where they go. You can't really blame them for that. Mac activates a double damage rune and still has the Aegis and wants to move in right now for a team fight. And they see Carl. Zephyr will break the smoke. Silence immediate from Mac and a nice Fisher from Boomy to set up. Boomy will show himself, and it's worth it if they find the clock kill. They just feel safer across the map without it.
Gives them a lot more to work with. You're not going to have that scouting potential from GeekFam. You got to point something out as well. Boomy shifts out from the BKB straight into the Ags. 2 parts in, 2 parts left. Once you have that Ags up on the Shaker, it just becomes so much easier to get that long-range initiation.
Right, like he doesn't need a BKB once the Ags is up. It's basically solving the same problem as now. They do bind Carl, but Fisher doesn't connect. Everyone runs into the Pit of Malice. So they get nothing. But they will head down bot. Objectives are more important than kills anyway. With a 11k net worth lead, Adroit should not be stopped.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
But GeekFam, they are going to start looping around. They've smoked up.
Radiant's bottom tower.
It's a very scary team fight for them to take. And it may not be worthwhile, but what a hook coming out from Zephyr. Great cogs into the LC. CML already dead. Bok going very, very low and also dies. And now the Dark Rift. They want to get up, but Boomy, he found the Echo. 2 go down immediately to Mac. The Dark Rift is there, but they left Carl. In fact, they left Raven as well. Cuckoo. That is not a 5-star rating, sir. You forgot your passengers behind. Raven gonna be slowly chased down. The Purge is there. Nice remnant back, but look who's waiting. Boomy knows.
Oh, man. Boomy, with that slam, just really turning it there. It looked bad. They got 2 heroes off the bat, Adroit. They clumped up with CML and Bok. They were cogged up. They were battery assaulted up. Not enough from GeekFam. Those weren't the key heroes they had to control. You really have to try to find Boomy. And they clump up once more, get punished hard. And Adroit, coming out now with a 13k lead, are able to push once again down mid.
Yeah, it's only getting worse.
Dire are scanning.
They're just seemingly running out of options, GeekFam. Like, they still have great high ground defense, but not if Boomy keeps doing what he's doing. They're gonna catch out Mac. Bit of Malice won't lock him in now with the BKB. Bok, he'll move forward. He does have a jewel available, but doesn't quite find anybody to get it off on. And it seems as though they just want to take a team fight while Echo is not available. But they don't get anything out of it.
They're just not finding the right targets. Zephyr is kind of forced to be in the spot all by himself. I think one big part that's playing into this with GeekFam speed is that with Raven's build, they just have nothing to do right now. They do not have the damage on Raven. They need to wait for him to finish that Battle Fury. Even then, that's probably not going to be enough. The damage output from that Battle Fury isn't going to shoot him up as much as a Maelstrom would with really good procs. So whether or not that fixes the issues remains to be seen.
Natsumi. Yeah, fantastic target for them to find. Wolf form will be popped. He's actually going to turn around. Carl is baiting right now. Natsumi pops his BKB. Carl going to be attacked. Where is the... What?
They left.
They Dark Rift. And Carl just says ha ha ha. So they baited.
Oh, man.
And then they just let. They're just like, yeah, Carl, go, go, go. Trust me, we're going to back you up. Meanwhile, Cuckoo's just heating up the car. Getting ready, just warming up the engine.
Oh god, that's just gonna get Adroit to take this tier 2 at last. All outer towers gone for GeekFam. Options are getting severely limited. Why did they leave him? Why?
I
Just
guess
a bit of a prank. It's just a prank, bro. It's just a prank.
Oh, goodness gracious me. Cuckoo gonna get caught by the jewel. This is not good news. Hookshot, Zephyr, very nice one. Locks 2 in the cogs, but where's Boomy? He's right below them waiting. Fisher will not be there in time. They lose Cuckoo anyway.
You don't get the dual win, so that's a positive for GeekFam. They lost Cuckoo, but no dual win going the way of Adroit, so Bok isn't as fully damaging. I don't think it matters too much at this point. Look at that. Boomy has his Ags up. So, yeah, here we go. Should be much easier for him.
Echo's available as well. See who has buybacks. Apparently only the Pugna and Coddle have buybacks on GeekFam, so this is going to be disastrous if Adroit win this. But Mac falls too low, pops his BKB, and doesn't want to be involved any longer. He leaves. They are still waiting around though. Mac will make his way back relatively quick, just spamming Blink. Adroit, they kind of drew out a line saying, let's go again, but GeekFam are the ones to smoke. Raven, I don't know about this Raven. He will remnant away. Does get silenced immediately by CML. GeekFam still looking around, but you're trying to take a very bad engagement fighting up that high ground, and now they'll chase down Mac, but they can't quite catch him in time. Zephyr will keep rotating. Meanwhile, Adroit showed themselves in mid. And TPs. Bok. Disha doesn't connect on Carl, so they won't get the duel off. Still Boomy moving forward with no fear in the world. Enchant Totem, he is jumped into 4 heroes, but Cuckoo is going again. He does not want to be involved in this. Not while that guy's around.
They waste some time from Adroit. So this is some fascinating use of Dark Rift, just constantly baiting the enemy team in. That is going to give Adroit Roshan though. Like, you're not going to get there in time. This Rosh is going to go the way of Adroit. Second Rosh of the game, Aegis and Cheese. Going their way, so you've got a lot to deal with now for GeekFam in the next defense. They spotted out the flare. No one really around to stop it.
Oh, goodness me. Cuckoo, nice bit of malice preemptively to stop Mac, but there'll be another blink in a second. Meanwhile, there are some very fast units running, trying to find this Underlord. Instead, they find Carl. And this poor Pugna. Chant Totem, Vision, and given the jewel.
Yeah.
Carl's lost it. He's absolutely lost it.
He's turning into the sacrificial lamb where we kind of expected him to be the guy giving Adroit space. I mean, not giving Adroit space, giving GeekFam space with the towers. And he hasn't been able to. They just haven't been able to really pressure out. It's Zephyr that's, for some reason, split farming.
Natsumi will take the bottom tier 3. And now, looks like it's going to be a free Rax. How do you defend? Get a Malice. Hookshot, Zephyr trying to go in, but Global Silence is immediate. And Adroit continue pursuing the Rax. Max still has the Aegis, by the way, of course, he just got it. Now Both gets Jewel off, there is going to be a Decrepify onto Zephyr, Mac jumps in, Will-O-Wisp is going to be there. This could be the team fight coming out from GeekFam, but where's the damage? They're still trying to go after the LC, Mac is still alive, he does finally go down to Raven, and they do get Bok. They need to really capitalize off this. Chains again, Mac, BKB's up, and they're going back in. There goes Zephyr. Still not backing off Adroit. Now they finally will, but this feels like a bit of bait. GeekFam will not group up. They won't fall for that same trap. And Adroit, they've had enough. They got the racks they came for. They back out.
They at least expend the Aegis on Mac. So they're not going to have that in the next engagement. They do still have the cheese up on Natsumi. But, you know, GeekFam does somehow defend. Like, they hold on to their range racks down the bot. And they do manage to find themselves one kill. But that is going to help the cause. Not quite bouncing them back in any big way. Like, it's still a 20k deficit in favor of Adroit. But they have gotten themselves some breathing room to get out of their base, find a little bit of farm. You finally see... Oh, Raven's going for the Divine on the Ember.
I just saw. Battle Fury Divine Rapier. Raven, that's his answer.
So risky, though.
I mean, you're going to lose the game at this rate, aren't you? You're 20k behind.
Oh.
Poor Whiteman. Well, That's a big hit from Boomy. That is a lot of damage from one enchant totem. Meanwhile, Bok finds Zephyr at the bot lane. 2 for nothing trade coming out for Adroit, and they tried to go after Carl, but he does manage to TP out on the cliff. I think that's the only answer. Like, maybe with the Divine Battle Fury, you could actually do something.
The issue is, like, as an Ember Spirit, if you go Divine here, there's Global Silence, and then you just don't do anything.
Fisher, wrong side, but Enchant Totem will allow him to bounce through. Mac, again, just wants Carl and does get the kill. Now Raven, he's going to move back in. The buyback is there from Cuckoo. They are going to try and slow down Adroit's push attempt. Cheese was eaten, I believe, by the Quap. And Adroit are playing very cautiously. Like, considering how far ahead they are, it looks like they are just satisfied with the fact that Cuckoo brought back.
They're not willing to take a risk. They understand if they do bleed out some space, and we did see some of that control from GeekFam in play. When they get the Will-O-Wisp off, the pit down, the cogs out, it can be a lot to deal with. Adroit hasn't really gotten all too many defensive items. At least it's only the 2 cores that really have them. Everyone else is going to be very vulnerable, and you really need Boomy to just run around and do his thing, so he's saving up for his BKB next. But there is still a lot of potential from GeekFam. You don't want to run that risk. And this is giving GeekFam a little bit more time. Like, Raven is inching closer towards that Divine, just about 1.3 away.
Boomy's caught Zephyr. Zephyr just, again, split pushing the lanes as the clockwork. That's all he can really do right now. He will probably just die. Mac will be the one to pick up the kill. Nothing else he could have done. Wolf form again going to be popped by Natsumi. It looks like he does find Whiteman, who does Blinding Light, but it does not matter. Ooh, that's a hell of a lot of damage. And now, down to the bot lane, there's still 1 Rangetrax. They are defending, but the Rangetrax does finally drop. And mid lane, the push does come in now from Bok and CML. Mac will be there to join. They want to force more buybacks out. Run of Atos, that's going to be purged off. They want to go after that Pugna Carl, but he is still out of range though. They get the jewel off just in the nick of time. Will-O-Wisp has been dropped. Do you have damage output though? Raven's trying with double sleight of fist, but he doesn't really do that much damage. They want Boomy, still 3 trapped in there, but 0 damage.
They just can't follow up. They need the Pugna round to lay some damage on with the Nether Blast and the Decrep to amp that up, but there's just nothing. He doesn't have buyback, Carl, so he's just stuck in that position there. He did just finish up his Dagons. So he finished his Dagons to lose his buyback. If he dies again after this respawn, it could be a spot of trouble for Adroit. They might figure out that he doesn't actually have the spare gold.
I hate to break it to you, John. They're in more than a spot of trouble right now. And GeekFam 26k behind. Zephyr just going to hookshot some creeps. Trying to... Oh my, that wasn't a good idea. They are some strong creeps. But they are going to clear them out. That is a lot of gold. And I believe all that gold basically went to Raven, who is very close now to finishing off the Divine Rapier. Now, in all fairness, I think he still needs a Daedalus or another Divine if he really intends to be... No?
Oh, no, yeah. He definitely does. It is lacking. I'd say, even with just this, your damage output's not going to be amazing. He is at risk. Global Signs comes out. He doesn't have a BKB. He will probably die. He queues up another Divine. Necessary. This might surprise Adroit. They might be punished.
Well, you do have double sleight of fist with the Coddle. So, again, I don't know if it's enough damage yet, but with double sleight of fist, as long as he sits back, doesn't get caught by the silence, doesn't get caught by the Scythe device that the Queen of Pain now has, he should be okay.
Yeah, just have to really temper how far you push it. Just a lot of caution still has to be there. There's just so many ways for Adroit to punish a Ember with no defensive items. Right? That's basically what Raven's boiled down to. He is saving up for a Crystallis instead, so probably looking at the Daedalus build-up.
I think it's more value, right? Like, even if you just had a Crystallis, like, it seems more valuable.
Just amps it up more. Yeah, you have a lot more potential. It's a bit more cost-effective. Although
Radiant
a Divine's always nice, you know. I mean, we're saying that, but I do love the numbers, the raw numbers a Divine brings. The consistency of it. It's much more pleasing to see. But it's not about
Certainly
being
is
pleased.
Adroit are just hanging around, just being patient, waiting for a nice pick-off. Carl will move forward, but Bok will not be in range for the Blink Jewel. By the way, Boomy does have a full BKB up now. He just needs to bring it out on his courier. So there's that. Not really going to protect him from Raven's damage output.
No. But something else that Adroit can potentially wait for. Level 25 talent on Mac. He is at 24, a bit away. Like, it's still going to take a little bit of time. But once you get that Scream of Pain Fear, your AoE control is suddenly that much stronger.
On the alternate end of things, Raven could get 2 Sleight of Fist charges with his level 25 talent, plus the Keeper of the Light recharge. So, theoretically, 3 Sleight of Fist charges.
Still going to be a while, though. Raven is unfortunately at 19.
Yeah,
So
he's below
there's a
Boomy on
lot
the
more
Earthshaker.
for him. It's that point in the game where they're just so far behind. 30k behind in that for it.
Well, Raven, that's dangerous. Risky plays to try and get more gold up, but Carl does get caught by the Fisher. Enchant Totem, not gonna land. Carl,
Oh man.
Carl tips him.
It was your own damn.
I don't know if this is the time, Carl.
Oh man. It's time for the slow game, right? This is the point where Adroit's gonna be super cautious about taking these objectives. At the same time, GeekFam will have to play cautiously because they've got a bit of a bomb in that Ember. So they just have to wait for whoever missteps first. And whoever missteps first is going to be punished hard by either side.
Level 20, he's going to get the plus 60 Sleight of Fist hero damage. A bit more value on the Sleight of Fist now, even more damage to come out. A little bit concerning when he can't clear out the creeps, but that's fine. Just a Divine Rapier that he has. I think that's why
Tier 4 items are going out.
Sure, but how are GeekFam going to get them?
I mean, it's for Adroit.
I don't think they
Tier
need
4
the
items
job.
for Adroit are coming out.
They're 33k
I mean,
ahead.
there's a Divine. They've got to be careful about that Divine, though.
worthy to
You know, a lot of
up.
caution.
GeekFam running out of patience. Okay, Boomy would be a really nice kill right now, and they do hook shot. Pit of Malice is there as well. They need to lock him down as much as possible, but the BKB. 5 heroes could not kill off the possible Earthshaker. Oh my, oh my.
And yeah, that's Roche with the Ags dropped as well. That does go to Mac. So you have that lower cooldown, higher damage Sonic Wave coming out, just allowing him to apply a lot more damage as it drags on. And you have the 25 down on Mac. So there you go. That's fear on the Scream of Pain.
I don't think they can defend this GeekFam. Like, they couldn't kill the Earthshaker by himself. How are you going to defend high ground against Aegis and everything else?
Well, they've finished up the Crystallis now. I don't think Raven had that last time. At least when they were jumping Boomy. So he does have a chance to crit. That could be big. He is saving up for a second Divine Rapier as well. I don't know if they're going to have the time to get that up. But again, Adroit is taking her time. 42k net worth lead, though, at 42 minutes in. That's just huge.
It is. That's what that looks like. Dota Plus is... You know what? Dota Plus is giving them a 3% chance of winning on GeekFam. So it's not over till it's over. Bok gonna move in, doesn't get the jewel, and does use his BKB. That was a 10-second charge. Natsumi also committing the wolf form. Does jump in with the Abyssal Blade, and now the Fear comes out with a huge Sonic Wave and a global silence. GeekFam still surviving, but how much longer? Raven couldn't do anything during that global. Now Cuckoo's gonna drop. Sleight of Fist tickles them. Literally tickles them, John. It did no damage.
No, you really need to combine that with a Coddle, and he has no buyback. Oh no.
Now Jewel comes out. They caught. Is that the Ember they've caught? They have. Raven drops. Divinity's on the deck. Echo comes out. Boomy again. He just puts the lid on this game. He's had enough. That'll be it, boys. GG is called. Looks like Carl had some fun. At least he's been laughing the whole time.
I mean, he was always the target very early on for Adroit. And Adroit, after a very weak start in lane, they were never too far behind, to be fair. GeekFam were applying some pressure, didn't manage to find enough objectives, didn't really manage to win out while Adroit was playing greedy, farming up on Boomy. And Boomy just comes in with a blink, turns it all around. No space for GeekFam. GeekFam will have to watch out for that as we go into game number 3.
Yeah, we'll be going into it very soon. About 10 minutes away till we are into the Game 3 draft. It's MLP Dota and of course John X Fire. We'll see you all again very, very soon for that third game.
Bet. Made for live betting.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for the third game and final game of the day between Adroit and GeekFam. It is MLP Dota and John Expired. John, game 1 going to the side of GeekFam, game 2 going to the side of Adroit. And by the way, I believe it was a 50k plus net worth lead at the end of that game 2.
Oh yeah.
Game 3, what do you think GeekFam need to be doing differently this time around?
GeekFam has to be very careful in giving those playmaking pause fours towards Adroit. I think as long as Adroit manages to make that greed work out, they do get a bit of an edge when Boomy is on one of his signature heroes. That being said, those heroes tend to be the Shaker and the Magnus. Neither are heavily in meta, so I'm not sure if GeekFam is going to prioritize those banouts. And if they don't, then Adroit can certainly just dip back into them. I think the Magnus is one of the more explosive ones. Adroit does have second pick. So in the first pick phase, if neither of those tools are banned out, they could simply go for Mag Troll, Mag PA, or Shaker plus something else, and it might work out just fine. I think GeekFam needs to be able to punish that kind of play from Adroit. That's what they're going to be looking for once more.
You really want to see the Mag, huh? I know you.
Oh, yeah.
You really enjoyed the Boomy Mag the other day, and it seems like, from what you've been telling me in the messages, you seem like you really want to see it again. I can't blame you. I want to see the same thing out of Boomy. I hope they pick it up, but at the same time, I wouldn't really blame them for just going into the Earthshaker. In fact, there we go. GeekFam respect ban it. They don't want to see it again. And in all fairness, that whole game 2 was all about Boomy. If you didn't catch Boomy, you weren't taking the fight. If you did take the fight, you lost the fight. GeekFam, they will take Tusk for themselves, which has been very, very strong over the past couple days. Adroit, do you want to go into the Magnus?
I think they tend to try to slide it through. They don't try to prioritize it in the first phase because, honestly, who bans it out? Not many teams. If you were going to ban it out against Adroit, you would in the first phase. So you're not likely to see it banned out later on. And I think that's what Adroit tries to do with her draft. I would say just pick it up. I mean, again, Boomy does tend to just play fantastic. The issue is when Adroit does that, they do slow down their pace of the game. And I think GeekFam is ready for that. The Tusk does tell me that earlier aggression is coming out from GeekFam. Adroit do start off with the Oracle. So they've got that great sustain. They've got a way of keeping whatever core they pick up safe. This would actually make it very easy to pick the Troll Warlord if they wanted to right now.
It seems like that's probably the route they're going to go down. I imagine they probably are just going to go into the Troll pickup right now, and we've seen that quite a few times over the past couple days in the BTS Pro Series, so it wouldn't really surprise us. Adroit are going to have a little bit of a think about it. Even if they didn't pick it right now, do you think it would even get banned in the first place? Because we really haven't seen many teams prioritizing the Troll ban. And yeah, Adroit, they don't even pick it up. They go for the Pangolier first. So it's almost like telling GeekFam, ban the Troll. We dare you to ban it. We've got something better in store.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move from Adroit, just kind of weighing their options there. It is a bit likely GeekFam would ban it. We have seen a couple of times where Troll is banned out. I think in most cases, it's when Oracle's already there. So it would be a fairly safe move to make. GeekFam does go into the Disruptor. They're picking up 2 supports first.
Right.
And these are strong supports. Like, Tusk can give you that early advantage. Disruptor has that great AoE control. But there are holes here that Adroit can kind of play around with. Like, high mobility heroes aren't going to mind either of these guys. Even if, Disruptor gets the call back, something like the Storm could really easily just dodge it or play around with it. Even the Ember Spirit would be pretty decent up here as well. So this kind of early commitment from their support duo from GeekFam, hopefully we do see the backup of a strong core. They do ban out the Troll, so you're not going to be seeing that with the Oracle. Smart move from GeekFam, just way too much sustain there, way too much that they have to worry about if that Troll went through, so they just take it off the map. That's fine.
But it almost seems like that's what Adroit wanted. Because would you not just first phase pick the Troll if that's what you really wanted? Like, of all things, when you see an Oracle, the first hero that comes to mind is Troll Warlord. I don't know, it feels like a bait ban from Adroit going into the second phase now.
Dire team pick.
Oh,
Enchantress.
okay. Enchantress comes out. That's not a very popular support pick in this current meta. Is that that is a support Enchantress, right? This isn't core I'm assuming the Pango is core.
Yeah, I reckon the Pango is going to be core. The Enchantress is probably the Boomy hero. That kind of
10
makes sense.
seconds remaining.
It doesn't quite fit into this playstyle. At the very least, you have a
5
lot more
seconds
laning
remaining.
presence in this kind of duo, so you should have a way of really bullying out whatever GeekFam has. I'm not sure about this one. There's a reason why the Enchantress has kind of tapered off in favor. Of course, could be effective. GeekFam does go straight into the Legion Commander. Couple of issues with that. You are picking LC into Oracle.
True.
So it's not going to be easy to get those dual wins. And the disarm's always going to be good from the Oracle or the False Promise. So the key target for that LT will have to be the Oracle unless the Tusk and Disruptor get to that Oracle first. And you can't duel the Enchantress. You should not duel the Enchantress because, well, that's still painful.
Here we go again. The Lycan comes out. Adroit just seem to love this hero. They really haven't got the same sort of lineup. I don't really know if I'd say the Lycan lineup is quite as strong this time around. It feels a bit weaker. I don't see anything that really gels with the Lycan.
The only thing I see is really that Enchantress. I guess you can dominate creep early on and kind of build an army there. You have good heals from the Oracle and the Enchantress, although it's more of the Enchantress for like minion heals. That's the only really thing I can see that's working out here for Adroit. I'm surprised they're not going for one of their more traditional game tree kind of drafts. Every single time they reach a game tree, there is that historical tendency for the Magnus PA, the Magnus Troll. They do go for a much more focused approach. It is seemingly a bit less risky, right? You're not putting yourself up to a greedy lineup here. The Enchantress doesn't need too much farm. So if they are going to put Boomy on that, he's just going to have stronger laning presence. That's what they want to maintain here up against what GeekFam has. They still have that Lycan for early objectives. That can work in their favor as the lockdown from GeekFam is kind of lacking. You have the Disruptor, so you can call him back into the Static Storm at the very least. But that's basically it. Once that's expended, then you'd kind of be hard-pressed to keep that Lycan in place.
Well, GeekFam, fourth pick for them now, John. They're going to have a bit of a think about this one. They had to experience the Lycan last game. They didn't enjoy what they saw, and quite frankly, this time around, they don't have as much D-push as they did last time around. Whether they even bother focusing on that aspect of the game is a completely different story. You probably have to. It is a Lycan. GeekFam will take a Terrorblade for themselves, and that is, I believe it was a Raven Classic, wasn't it? Back in the day when Terrorblade was actually good. Now it's back. And Raven actually, Terrorblade is back, so Raven says, I'll take the Terrorblade. Against the Lycan, however, how do you feel about that? Is that a good pick? Because it does feel like Terrorblade can kind of get run over by this Lycan pickup.
It takes time to go online, this Terrorblade. That's the key thing here. GeekFam just needs to buy space for Raven to get big enough. Excuse me. The one issue I see as well is that Enchantress can actually rip through Terrorblade just fine. Impetus is no longer an ult, sure. Like it does have a bit of a cooldown, but you can trade favorably with the Terrorblade, whether or not Metamorphosis is up. And you have to think about Metamorphosis as well. It sets the pace for that Terrorblade's timings. So you have to play around that long cooldown. If you are blown up, then it is going to cause issues. GeekFam doesn't have any sort of saving support. They don't have the Oracle for themselves. So they're not going to be able to sustain that Terrorblade as much. They only really have the Legion Commander for heals right now. That's something that they have to always be conscious about. That here is not it doesn't have a huge HP pool.
I'm curious as well. Like, we saw Carl last game. Started off pretty well on the Pugna. Ended up dropping off quite a bit at the end. What would you like to see him on this game? Like, they've banned the Queen of Pain, which is what I would have said is probably the best pick he could have gone for. GeekFam actually go ahead and get rid of the OD, which is fair enough. You have an LC, you have a Terrorblade, you don't want to deal with an OD on the opposing side of things. But what does Carl play against this kind of lineup from Adroit?
Well, they don't really have the best of lockdown. The Spirit Brothers are all there. I'd say the best one in this case would be something like an Ember Spirit to come out if they want to go for that route. They go to Storm instead. which is again a high mobility hero, not the best lockdown on Adroit's side. You can kind of reach into the back line. The Oracle is going to be a very prime target for the Storm. I think #1 target for our Storm Spirit in this game. And Adroit does close out their draft with the Alchemist. Oh boy. Alchemist Oracle.
All right.
We've seen this so many times, Mike.
Yeah.
It's just way too good.
Go. I was wondering. I was looking at Adroit's draft and I was like, no, this isn't right. It feels very empty. It feels a bit bland. I'm like, what's going on here? They've got an Oracle, but with a Lycan? A Lycan of all things? That's what your Oracle combo is going to be? I thought we may see a Husker pop out. That's what I thought. I thought maybe they go for the Cheese Husker pick. You've got the Oracle. It wasn't bad. It's the Alchemist. It got nerfed recently. I don't think it matters. The whole map got nerfed. So
yeah, basically.
As far as I'm concerned, Alchemist is still completely broken. With an Oracle to keep him alive through Chemical Rage, and he just passively heals himself up. I don't see the greatest Spirit Vessel carriers on GeekFam either.
No.
Like, this is really scary.
Probably Tusk.
Adroit could really finish this game quite quickly.
The only real carrier GeekFam has for like that urn you mentioned or the Spirit Vessel is Zephyr's Tusk, but his farm prioritization is pretty low in the totem pole. So this is definitely something Adroit is playing around. The Alchemist, a lot of people think is like a late game core. It's really a mid game core. It spikes super fast early on if it's not shut down, and then it just takes over. With a Lycan on top of that, these timings from Adroit should be pretty darn good. GeekFam has to kind of match that pace, but at the same time secure farm for Raven, Ender, Storm. And these heroes require so much farm, like the Storm Spirit and the Terrorblade do require some time to get started up. I'm not sure if Adroit's going to be able to give them that.
I don't
Probably
think they
not.
have the time.
It's just because of the pacing that Adroit's draft has. Like, as long as Mac doesn't fall behind in 10 minutes, that's the key time for the Alch. If he's not bullied out of lane within 10 minutes, then he's just going to go into the jungle after 10, farm up his stacks, come out with a Radiance by 15 at the latest. And Radiance on the Alch, you've got a Lycan who'd probably have his Dominator and level 6 by then, of course. You'd be running around, melting objectives, fighting very early on. You have all the sustain from an Enchantress and from an Oracle. It's going to be hard for GeekFam to slow that pace.
I certainly agree. I love the draft from Adroit. I mean, I'd hate to play against it, but as caster, it does look nice. See if they can slow Mac down enough. Cuckoo's apparently already here to say hello. Does take a tier 1 tower hit. We'll leave. I don't see any camps being blocked, but we'll see the Radiant Observer Ward already keeping vision to ensure that the Alch doesn't get ganked from the offlane of GeekFam.
The battle begins.
And even if you do beat him in lane, like, usually Alchemist isn't the greatest mid laner in the world, but he just goes to the jungle, he clears out some stacks, and the game's over. It's as simple as that.
That's the key thing for GeekFam. Like, Carl has to win out mid lane so hard, and you have to maintain control in that jungle. We saw a lot of teams where, yes, they win the mid lane matchup. We have actually seen the Storm against the Alch, and the Storm can actually pretty much just win. But if you don't shut down that jungle, that will be the major issue here. GeekFam has to get that out. With a Tusk, I can see them getting those rotations out fairly easily. So you do have that on the plus for GeekFam. A Tusk does have great laning presence, can roam around freely, but even if Carl just wins out here, you will have to have Zephyr get that job done.
We'll have a look at the other lanes for a bit, because that mid lane is probably going to be very, very passive. Unless some rotations come in. Raven is going to be up top, of course, on the Terrorblade with Whiteman. Raven, of course, just popped the Metamorphosis and basically just going to freely farm with that. We'll see Boomy come in, and that is actually a fair bit of impetus damage already. Of course, Boomy with that impetus doesn't really care. Some fantastic pure damage coming out from that Enchantress. Bot lane, we do see Natsumi up against Cuckoo. You know, funnily enough, this should actually be an easier lane for Natsumi. Like, last time around he was having to verse the Underlord. This time around, while the OC is quite annoying, it's not like the Lycan really cares. to trying to kill the offlaner. They just want to farm.
Yeah, and LT can kind of punish once you have your wolf summons with the overwhelming odds. It's not too much more damage. Lycan's not going to be under too much pressure. You take a look at that positioning from CML as well, just going all the way back, matching Zephyr, keeping him away from lane, which means that Natsumi's not going to be feeling the threat of that Tusk anytime soon.
Definitely not. I wonder though, who'll be stacking for the Alk? I haven't seen CML really going for any stacks yet. Yeah, I mean, it is fairly early to be fair, but do you even bother? Is it necessary for Mac to clear out stacks?
It's a big plus.
Oh, Zephyr. Gonna come in. He has shards. He has tag team. Mac should be dead here, though. He does stick charge up. Still trying to run away, but it's not going to be enough. Carl does find the first blood. Zephyr will go down, but it is well worth the death.
Yeah, nice big pickup here for GeekFam. They are definitely keeping lid on that Alk, so they understand the importance of keeping Mac down. Would like to see a lot more investment as the game goes on, but right now, just killing the Alk is big enough.
Top lane, Bok. Trying to have a go onto Whiteman on this Disruptor. The Bok is falling very low. Raven needed one more hit. Nice body blocks coming out from Boomy. Won't allow it, and Bok does manage to salve up. That Illusion trying to get the salve cancellation, but it's too late. Bok will be fine. So will the Disruptor Whiteman. He'll be fine as well.
Just a bit of back and forth, but you take a look at mid again. Zephyr is back.
But he has no... Tag team's not off cooldown.
Just pushing Mac away from lane. He's not getting last hits.
I guess that works, right? If you just stand there, you don't need to do anything. And now Vortex comes in. Zephyr said, hey, I warned you. But CML will be around the Oracle. Mac will be forced to salve up a little bit. Everything goes back to normal. And on the brighter side for Mac, I guess, like with Zephyr standing there, he is soaking XP from Carl, which does affect the Storm quite a bit.
Yeah, and those early levels are very important for Carl, so he is going to be kind of split up early on. You could say the same about Mac, because CML is basically just staying here now. You can't leave Mac alone. This is freeing up that bot lane, but as mentioned, Natsumi's perfectly fine one-on-one against Cuckoo, so really it's all about this mid lane. This is where the supports will have to stick, and Zephyr trying to go for rotation does have the shards, but it's harder with CML.
He is level 3. He could go for a snowball. He just hasn't skilled anything yet. And Zephyr, that's going to be a lot of damage with Acid Spray.
Ouch.
CML, he does pick up the kill. That's some very aggressive positioning from a Tusk. CML does make him pay for it.
And they might even find the bounty runes here as well.
Yeah, CML. No, Fortune's End was a bit too quick, and Carl would at least find his. And back to Cuckoo. Did not get one either. I believe it was actually denied off by the creep of Natsumi. And Cuckoo may actually drop Fortune's End to fly out. He is healing himself and press the attack. It should not be enough, and CML will be on a killing spree on the Oracle now. The 3-1, the way of Adroit. That is very good news if you have an Alchemist draft.
Definitely is, but Mac is under a lot of pressure again. This time, a lot more supports rotating down to get this kill.
Yeah, but a lot more coming in to help. One will cancel Boomy. He'll follow all the way through. But that's the thing with an Alk, John. Like, he suffers a bit of mid lane, gets levels up in Acid Spray and Chemical Rage, then goes jungle. Like, GeekFam know this, obviously. They just won't leave Mac alone. But ultimately, Mac is eventually going to be able to just go jungle and recover. Although, nice zip in from Carl. It's very, very deep, and Mac doesn't have any help now. And they will find a secondary kill on the Alchemist.
That's definitely what they need. This does allow them to get a little bit of chip damage on that mid-tier one as well. And Boomy actually drops fairly low, although they aren't ready to commit. This is really hurting the pace of Mac. They do have really good wards now from GeekFam as well to watch that jungle. And Carl is actually clearing out the camps where the Alk would want to be anyway.
Invisibility.
That's the idea. Just clear out as many camps as you can near the Alk. Oh, Boomy. Giving free kills away to Carl now.
Is under attack.
And you want to protect the Alchemist, but not like that. It's not the way to do it. So Mac,
No.
he will rotate into the jungle now, though. He's had enough.
Yeah, they did manage to get the D ward on that vision that GeekFam has, so the jungle is just a bit more open here. But you still run the risk of rotations in. All this time with supports out of those lanes does mean Raven as well. It's something we didn't talk about. On the Terrorblade is actually farming quite well and finds a kill.
Yeah, very nice. Bok goes down on the Pangoli. That makes it a 3-4, much more even game. In fact, GeekFam is now overtaking in terms of kill score. They also take a 1k net worth lead, which is very nice. Like you said, Raven's freely farming. This is when you look at that last hits board and you see the Storm and Terrorblade at the top, you do get a little bit scared if you are an Adroit fan.
Yeah, they don't need too much farm on their Lycan, but when you're lagging behind like this, you do give a lot for this Terrorblade to play around. Raven is going to be farming into the Yasha, presumably into the Manta style first, unless he does want to go for the SNY, which we've seen a lot of heroes gravitate towards now with this patch change. But the options are there. They aren't threatening this Terrorblade. Raven is actually just left alone up top. So you're losing out farm on Mac. You're letting Raven free farm. Your Lycan is somewhat keeping up in terms of last hits at the very least, but it's not quite there yet, although the Lycan should be online a bit faster. There is some pressure on Natsumi to ensure that these objectives melt early on to buy space for that Alp.
He's trying, but again, you'll see Zephyr rotating on the Tusk, gets a very nice shards already blocking him in, but this time with Chemical Rage, there's a lot less kill potential, and Zephyr, you need to get out of there, or maybe not. Carl will jump in, the Swashbuckle will actually not finish the job. It was a snowball that came out, and in fact, they're going to lose Carl, they're going to lose Zephyr. They were ready for it this time. And glimpse back, it looks like Bok will end up fighting Whiteman onto the Disruptor. Natsumi was glimpsed back, but it just doesn't matter. And it's a 3-0 in terms of that team fight. Very nice from Adroit.
It just turns around on a coin flip there. All of a sudden, you aren't killing Mac, Mac's killing you. It took a bit too long for Carl to get in there and back up Zephyr. That does cost him. This will allow Natsumi to start chipping away at that tier 1 up top, and this gives a lot of space towards Mac. He is still fairly far behind. Like, this is not where you want your Alpha to be, but when you give him kills like that, this definitely gives a lot more room for him to breathe.
Well, they go for a duel down a bot lane. They're going to try and get a trade with this tier 1 tower. That's exactly what they're going to do. Start forcing it in. The top lane is still being pushed in by Natsumi, so someone needs to get there and defend. They'll fortify. That should be enough. And you'll see Cuckoo. He'll go in and take that farm for the team. But it's all a distraction. The man they need to be looking for right now is within a very safe range, doing exactly what he needs to do. Unfortunately for him, he didn't exactly find as many bounty runes as he would have liked. I believe he only got 1 that time. But sometimes that's how it works. You can't get all the bounty runes.
No, although,
They thought about going on Zephyr.
Looked like Bok wanted to, but this is still looking okay for GeekFam. Like, Adroit with the Alchemist want that net worth advantage. They actually don't have it yet. So GeekFam still has a lot of leeway here. In fact, they do scout Bok out. Raven's playing really far forward. Forces out the Rolling Thunder, but nothing really comes out from it.
Raven's just doing what Raven needs to do. Keep farming on that Terrorblade. He is still ahead of the Arc in terms of net worth, but that gap is closing in very, very quickly from Mac, who has already queued up that Radiance. Definitely not going to be the best timing in the world for an Alchemist, but take what you can get. And GeekFam, they are ensuring they're trying to take as much map control as possible, and that's really how you shut down an Elf. In fact, Natsumi, top lane, going to get jumped. He does commit the wolf form. Is there going to be a duel from Cuckoo? He will not make it in time. The TP was just way too long, although glimpse back. He did get glimpse back, and with that, the duel will be there. And so that snowball, just giving enough vision for Whiteman to actually get the glimpse off.
Yeah, that's a big kill going the way of GeekFam once more, kind of taking the wind out of Adroit's sails. They're not finding that network lead they need to. You're not getting enough space with Natsumi's Lycan. He's managed to take one objective and apply light pressure up top, not too much. GeekFam going to be very happy with the state of the game, 6-6, less than 1k advantage going the way of GeekFam. That is against an Alk, and that is a very bad state for the Alk. Max still has a lot of catching up.
Nice shards coming out from Zephyr. Boomy will go up in the air, does go down. Carl also has a regen rune bottled up, so GeekFam may be very willing to try and go for a team fight soon. It always is nice when you have a regen storm. Max still suffering here. Be a real shame if he died right now. Like, he's getting very close. I say very close, he's still not that close to that sacred relic. GeekFam are having a look around to see if they can find him, but instead they're going to have to settle for Natsumi. Still a very nice kill if they could get it.
Oh.
GeekFam, shards, going to give vision, and Snowball of course going to be there. Natsumi will have no way out. Another duel coming. They will secure the kill. The Rolling Thunder will be there from Bok. They want to try and punish for this, but there's only 2 heroes up there for now. In fact, make it 3. The Enchantress is there as well. They're going to be able to claim up Cuckoo. But I think you're still very satisfied if you're GeekFam. You just slow down the Lycan.
Yeah, you're not finding the best trades. They do get the root off onto Zephyr right as the TP was about to go off, so they should find another trade. But these aren't the biggest priority targets, right? Cuckoo is a bit better. Zephyr is definitely not up there, and in sacrifice of your Lycan and your Alk, not worthwhile.
Yeah, Raven was already there. I didn't realize that Carl would jump down in the storm and pick up the kill as well. Yeah, definitely not worth it at all for Adroit. And like you said before, meanwhile, while all this is happening, Raven's still freely farming. Like, he is still at the top of the net worth board. This is a disastrous out game. We're 14 minutes in with no Radiance, not even a Sacred Relic yet. He's still 700 gold off. It's, you know, you start to question how effective the Alk's going to be if he's this far behind.
It's hard for an Alk to bounce back from this kind of deficit, although.
Boomy has friends. Rolling Thunder, not being committed yet, but they get the Fortunes in. That'll be enough. Boomy picks up a kill onto Whiteman. Nice shards block from Zephyr, just blocking the stairway. Carl is around there. They could definitely try for a fight if the push comes in. From the side of Adroit. For Carl, he does get a Vortex off. It is going to be onto Bok, but he'll swashbuckle away. By the way, John, Carl is already trying to go for an Aghanim Scepter.
I like that. I like the Ags on Storm. I think it's going to give you a lot more control. It looks like he did shift out to the Soul Booster, so perhaps still aiming for that Bloodstone in the end.
Oh, right. Yeah, the Bloodstone. Yep. Zephyr. Gonna jump in. Boomy will be perfectly fine, and they should be able to actually kill Zephyr. How? Yeah, they'll just leave him be, Zephyr. He'll die. None of his team really care. They'll just let him die in peace.
He's not a big priority target. You tend to see this with Zephyr. He's just thrown out there to give information. That's information that GeekFam does kind of maximize well. And Adroit's still not going to be too happy with just killing off a Tusk. He's not worth much. You're still not finding that net worth advantage. Mac is now number 2 though. 1,000 gold behind Raven. So you are seeing that bounce back up. You do have the Sacred Relic up on Mac. Still going to be finishing up that Radiance, but shouldn't take too long. Still, I do worry for Adroit. The timings are definitely off. And if GeekFam keep applying this pressure, then you'll always see this issue coming up for Adroit. And one of the things with the Alk as well, right? He's a gold sink. So you're investing all of your net worth into the Alk. If it doesn't pay off, then you're stuck with a gold sink that's really not doing anything for you.
Well, you've got to ask how much longer, like, this Alchemist can go on like this. We never see this. 16 minutes in, he is still behind, and now Raven, he's gonna find him. Mac, he still doesn't have the Radiance. He can't afford to die like this, but he gets caught out and he does die. Okay, so now it's at least 17 minutes before the Radiance, more than likely 18.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
This is
It's like
yeah, it's problematic, John.
the aggression from GeekFam is the exact counterplay to this kind of draft from Adroit. We expected so much more space coming out from this Lycan. We expected so many more saves from CML. They're just never there when they need to be around Mac. So Mac is just suffering hard for it, and they still have never punished Raven. You know, Terrorblade has weaknesses in the lane that we have seen teams really force out. Raven has had a free time. 1-0, 3 assists, all the farm in the world. Has his Mant style up, is working towards that BKB. Once the BKB is up, you have really no hope of just killing off Raven.
They do go for the Roshan. If Mac's gonna die, they may as well give him a second life. I believe it will probably go, who do you give it to? Like, you don't want to give it to the Lycan because he won't have wolf form after his death. You don't really want to give it to Mac because he's not doing anything yet. But it looks like Mac has freed up the slot, so he is the one taking it. It seems like they're just more denying the Aegis away from GeekFam.
It does look that way. I think that's what they're trying to go for. They can't really fight in the pit if GeekFam chose to force it out. So they're just going to be going for it themselves. First, you take a look at Mac, right? After that, Radiance, he's going to be going for the BKB next, which should mitigate a lot of that control GeekFam has. I don't think he's going to be big enough in the Alk to really stand there and fight, especially when you consider what Raven has. Like, that BKB is not going to be stopping the physical damage output of Raven, and it is really high as long as he has his Metamorphosis up. So there are still issues with the timing here. There's still a 1k advantage in GeekFam. Never something you want to see when you're in Alk. You know, you don't want to be even. You don't want to be behind us when you're running the Alk. You want to be 15k ahead at this point in the game, or at least 5k at 17. You know, that's a reasonable amount for the Alk. We're not there. So GeekFam is very happy with the state of the game. They've really managed to find every single kill they'd want. They have slowed down the pace of Adroit, and Adroit's just not finding the success they need. Like, the push we're seeing from Natsumi is just not great. He takes 1 tier 1, that's it. There's nothing else on the map they've taken away from GeekFam.
Okay, well, they're going to get the Roshan. That's good. So Mac's got a second life. That's a positive.
Yeah, he
mean,
doesn't do anything in his first life anyway. It's like, okay.
I mean, in terms of survivability.
Yeah, like, his team has to be around him. That's the key part. Like, every single time he's isolated and alone, for this Aegis to work, you have to have everyone around you.
Oh, Boomy gets jumped on. They just want to take out this Enchantress, though. False Promise committed. She's underneath the Static Storm. Whiteman, he will drop. Bok looking for another target, but Carl zips out. They do manage to eventually get that T1 mid tower as well, but Cuckoo, he's thinking about trying to find a jewel. Still doesn't have a Blink Dagger, however. And while they were making that push, the good news is, our Radiance is up.
You've got Radiance at last and Mac, so he can farm a bit faster. He can have a little bit more presence in these fights. Not quite ready to just join up on these team fights, but certainly a lot harder to kind of pick off now. But, you know, from those kills before, Carl already had the Bloodstone, so he's built up in that. They clear out the dominated creep as well from the Enchantress. And GeekFam still looking pretty steady. Again, you still have a network advantage on Raven. You are seeing Max start to rack it up. GeekFam has to keep playing aggressive. See, that's the one thing as well. We're talking about Adroit being behind, but GeekFam needs to maintain that aggression. They do smoke up. They're going to try to find something.
Oh, they have Metamorphosis and they have a Mantra on Raven. He's hitting very, very hard. Still at the top of the net worth board, by the way, on that Terrorblade. They're going to run straight into Bok. It's not really the target they'd like, but they'll have to take it, it seems. The Snowball will come out. Bok trying to run. Rolling Thunder won't be there in time. Raven attacking creeps right now. You've got to attack the hero. He does eventually get him. Again, it's not really the target they want, but it does force Mac out of the triangle. So
Yeah,
this is all time he's just not farming.
They deny that area from Adroit, which is still pretty nice, and they might find more if they're not careful.
They just want the bounties, it seems.
A gift from the tempest of battle.
The GeekFam have been very good at this, at denying most of the bounties. And Okay.
He was in wolf form as well, just chased down by the storm. Way more mana than you'd expect with that bloodstone. I believe he was just farming that top jungle and trying to chip away at that tier 2. Doesn't pay off. And now Pink's coming out onto CML.
Well, he tried to go for the bounty, and they knew he would. Fate's edict, only going to delay the inevitable. Clumsy net, he fortunes ends it off. But the jewel comes out. They were waiting on Cuckoo. Things get from bad to worse if you are Adroit. Mac even taking the tomb now to hit that level 15 mark.
Ooh.
It's never a good sign. Yeah,
No.
never.
That's how far behind Adroit's playing from. And you look at the scoreboard, sure, GeekFam, 1k lead, that's not too bad. But it's against an Alk. That might as well be a 10k lead at this point because of how the Alk works. And there's just so much more ground here Adroit has to try to recover. I think they have to play together. You know, they've got to try to find something. They've got to bait in GeekFam to fight their Alk while they have their Oracle around. And if they can get that done, they might be able to win.
They're going for a smoke. They are going to find Carl. If they can keep him stunned up, it'd be amazing. Cuckoo is trying to run in and press the attack, and he will eventually. Carl, he cannot get the zip off in time. Great kill. Bok trying to chase down Zephyr now. Zephyr again with the nice shards, but they are still going to continue with this chase. Purged up. Fortune's End is going to be there. Zephyr still running away, but they get the clumsy net off. Still, Raven is coming in. Now, he does have a BKB available. Raven, he doesn't have meta, but they've got the wolf stuck in that static storm. Now they will continue going onto CML, though CML will be perfectly fine as Raven's going to be the one in trouble. He needs to get out, but they do end up killing off Natsumi. Why is Mac here? I believe Mac probably should be farming somewhere right now.
I'm not sure why he decided to join in right after Natsumi dies. Just a lot that, well, you know, overall, Adroit does kind of win out in that fight. They only drop Natsumi. They do manage to find a Storm. They do manage to find 2 supports. They do earn a little bit of gold back. That is definitely time where Natsumi should just be farming up. I believe he is flying out his BKB. So there is some presence here from the Alk now. He can stand in the fight. He doesn't need to worry about any of those tools. The Aegis does expire in the end. But there's a smoke from GeekFam.
Oh, this is perfect timing from GeekFam. They knew the Aegis was going to expire, and they do spot out Mac. The glimpse is there. He needs to pop the BKB, and he does.
No.
That's a 10-second charge gone. Mac is having one of the roughest games I've ever seen. Like, it's not exactly his fault, right? He's just playing his hero the way it's meant to be played.
Radiant's top tower is under
But
attack.
They are getting everything out of this Alchemist.
Are fortified.
They definitely are. They've slowed down Mac to the point where he's just so far. I say he's so far behind. Again, he's 1k behind, but that's an Alk. We see this every single time. When an Alk is 1k behind, it might as well be 10. And GeekFam is really shutting down the map. They are playing quite well. They have gotten a lot more control out. They have given so much space to Raven to get so big that he is definitely giving it back. He's working towards that Scotty, and with the added effects of the Scotty, you're losing a lot of that regen on the Alk once that's up. And it will be up soon. Like, Raven's farming pace is pretty darn good.
You'd almost love to see someone get the Vessel as well, just to really give it to the Alchemist. Like, Scotty plus Vessel, that would be really devastating. They aren't doing that though. Like, Zephyr is going to go for the Vladimir's offering. It's also pretty nice. Perhaps they just don't feel like they need the Vessel. Perhaps it's just pointless. Like, we can take care of Mac without it.
They have been taking care of Mac without it anyway. So I can see the logic in just kind of letting that be. There is a smoke from Adroit. They might be in a good position here. Maybe?
Maybe. They do get up the high ground. Cuckoo gonna get swashbuckled. The glimpse on Bok, but he got the Rolling Thunder off. Now to chase and find somebody, and Raven would be the best target possible. But, no, they back out. Cuckoo now, he's going to chase forward. He wants to find somebody to pick off. He doesn't have a blink, but you could really depend on Zephyr here to get the shards off. As he sees Mac, he won't get the shards he wants. Carl's just going to go ahead and take a dominated creep and get himself 200 gold. And again,
what did we just watch? Was this like, did everyone just decide to go for a short marathon? Just a bit of a
Carl
jog?
has found Boomy, again trying to go after a bounty rune. Glimpse back from Whiteman. It's very hard to kill off Boomy with Untouchable.
It's a process.
Carl does not give up.
Oh?
Oh, he mechs up. Carl does get it eventually. That's why you never give up, kids. Keep chasing.
It takes a while. They find a kill. Adroit with a wasted smoke, wasted shapeshift, are going to have to find a different way to find those kills on the map. Alright, this is going to mean that an objective is probably going to be taken here by GeekFam.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And Raven taking a tier 2. Back. Trying to go after an AC. Let's have a nice orb of destruction.
Is under attack.
It's always good. Top lane also being pushed in by Natsumi. He's applying pressure.
Is under attack.
He won't be able to finish off the tier 2 tower, but it should be denied anyway. It's going regardless. You would have liked the gold. Raven, he won't even deny it yet. He'll just leave it.
Yeah, just might as well have that up there, right? Like, I don't think... Well, you know, it's always nice to get the deny off, but he'll probably come back for it. There's not much control from Adroit, so it's very risky for them to get into that area of the map. And GeekFam now with a 3k lead. It just feels like they have everything they want. Like, Adroit are still constantly pouring in all their resources towards Mac. So they are still trying to make this Alchemist work. I'm not sure at what point that really shouldn't be the case anymore. Like, he's just way too far behind as an Alchemist. This is probably the time where you try to maybe redistribute that farm, maybe give Natsumi a lot more to play with, and then he might be able to take these objectives a lot safer.
But if you don't invest in the Alch, what do you invest in? Like, Natsumi is great and all, but even the Lycan drops off.
Yeah, it's just a challenging situation all around for Adroit. You've got the Scatty up now and Raven as well, so if he does join these fights and Max around, even Lycan, right? Like, he has pretty good regen coming in. That's not going to be there with a Scotty up.
Oh, they're popping Wolf form. Raven, he has the Scotty right now. They're going to go after the Disruptor. It's a nice support pick-off, and they do take it. Natsumi, going to continue chasing for more. They need everything they can get, but this is very risky to go for as Zephyr does avoid the rolling boulder, and Carl jumps in. I think he wanted that regen room, but this could be disastrous. He does get away before the stun hits. Boomy now being targeted by Raven. I think you got to target someone else now, Raven. He'll go after Mac. Meanwhile, Natsumi does get jeweled up during the false promise. This should confirm the kill, but they do disarm the LC. Still Natsumi definitely should just die, and does. The chase goes way too far. And Raven will get started on the Roshan with that meta. Disruptor will be back up in about a second. It feels like you have to fight this, but I don't know if you can. Carl will jump in, get stunned, but it lasts literally no time. And, well, now you have Whiteman there with Static Storm still.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Mac throwing these acid sprays are slowing him down. I think it's speeding up the Roche.
Yeah, Roshan gonna go down. They do also find Zephyr at least, who did snowball in, but now they do go after Bok on the Pangolier. Static Storm doesn't really connect on anything. Meanwhile, Boomy does find 2 kills. This looks okay for the side of Adroit. They also get the Aegis denied. There's no meta on the TB, so this could be dangerous for Raven as he can't really help his team out. He'll try to manfight now with the Sunder. Going back onto Mac. Vortex there. Mac still taking a lot of damage. Now the Fate's Edict will not allow Raven to attack. He needs to get out. He'll pop his BKB and man up. Mac throws a stun, but he does go down. Now they chase for more. Jewel is back up by Cuckoo. Buyback comes out from the Oracle. CML. Not sure if the buyback was really worthwhile. I guess he did have false promise, so maybe they find Cuckoo. Cuckoo's just very tanky though. Clumsy Net gonna be there. Still trying to run. Does end up going down. Zephyr snowballs in. They really want to stop them from getting these bounty runes, it seems, and they get him regardless. Zephyr gonna give another kill away unless Carl helps out. He does pop his rune and tries to go in with the bottle. He does eventually get CMO. That's a dieback on the Oracle. Now Bok gonna be chased down and does get glimpsed back. And it's just a messy team fight overall, but it's working out in the favor of GeekFam. In fact, Boomy, look at Carl, he just mans up. Hit me.
Oh man, GeekFam just starting to tease Adroit a bit here. As they do maintain that lead, they did find everything they want. They've got all the kills they needed. They forced the buybacks out. They take that tier 2 objective now. No outer towers left for Adroit. GeekFam are just in control. They have been in control from very early on. Adroit, this investment in the Alk not paying off. We expected so much more from Alk Oracle, from the potential of just staying alive and just laying on the damage. They haven't been able to do so. And I don't know if there's any way back. Like, if Mac can actually recovery farm, then there is potential there. It's just that he's not recovery farming fast enough. He's just so far behind that Terrorblade consistently. I don't think Mac has ever been number 1 in the net worth board in the entirety of this game on an Alchemist.
But he's got an AC now, John.
I love this part.
It's probably not going to change the game very much, but he's got it. Bonk.
It's something.
It is something. Bonk, Rolling Thunders, rolls back home. GeekFam continue to farm up. Raven still at the top of the net worth board by a mile, and he will have an MKB up soon. Things are getting a little bit scarier. And this is why you remember Raven as that Terrorblade player. He knows his hero like the back of his hand. And looks like after this age... No, he hasn't. He's 4-0 with 7 assists.
Just no punishment from Adroit. Like, again, the laning phase is when you do bully that out. They just don't. Raven gets way too much. I believe he actually has that MKB. There you go. MKB's up. Butterfly's up coming up next. Can you even match up with what this guy has? I really don't reckon that they can. Mac is keeping pace, but...
I didn't realize this is what Alchemist looks like, John. It must be a new cosmetic for Alchemist. He looks pretty cool. Where do we buy it?
Which one?
The one that looks like Terrorblade, John.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. If only he had Terrorblade's farm as well.
True. They're gonna commit a lot here to try and go into Zephyr. So Zephyr forces a Rolling Thunder, forces a Wolf form, probably will die as he doesn't have Snowball. He is still surviving, however. They do finally get him, but in the meantime, CML's lost his life and they're going after Mac. Mac needs help. His team refused to help him. It was like Carl last game on the Pugna. They're just leaving him behind.
And this is going to be a very straightforward high ground push. Mac is forced to buy back. I don't know if you pull back as GeekFam. They still have Metamorphosis out.
Yeah, why would you? You've got BKB as well. 9-second charge still on Raven. He hasn't found the necessity to use it yet. Oh, the Orchid coming out from Carl. Silence is up, so Alk stuns himself. That's a dieback. It's an old trick, and Carl gives him the tip. Zephyr will give the tip back to Carl. I mean, that's a revenge tip right there from Carl, of course. And this game, I mean, it's over, right? Like, it's... How do you come back from this?
It's a dieback on Mac. He's their highest net worth. The next thing in line is the Lycan at 13k. That's nothing.
Nope.
34 minutes in.
He tries his best to get a Scythe of Vice up. I don't even know if that would be enough. Like, you've still got so much to worry about. It's not Raven, it's Carl, it's Cuckoo, it's Zephyr's too hard to kill. Now, what a Vortex coming out. That's the Aghanim Scepter upgrade onto 3, and they just destroy them. Cuckoo gets a jewel off. Boomy will die one more time, I believe. In fact, they don't win the jewel, but the Warrior's Punch will get the job done. The GG has been called. And GeekFam They weren't the favorites before all this started. They do pull off the victory, and they will be versing Boom Esports tomorrow in the lower bracket round 2.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty interesting rematch between the two. Of course, Boom was the one that did win out and force GeekFam into the lower bracket, so that's a bit of a grudge match for them. But Adroit just kind of losing so much ground in this game, right? Like they go with this draft that we think on paper should be high priority. The Oracle Alk has worked out for a lot of teams before. They don't manage to get it off. GeekFam with the early aggression, with so many heroes down mid, just keeping Mac in his place. Lots of great wards in jungle, lots of constant pressure onto Mac, just never allowing him to really get his space, and it fell apart. Like they were constantly investing in an Alchemist that was a 1k behind.
Yeah, it was a rough game. I honestly, when we were looking at the drafting phase, John, we just thought for sure that this game, like just based on Adroit's draft, should have been Adroit's game, right? Like Alchemist is still such a powerful pick in this current meta. In fact, how rude of me, John. Let me bring the cams back up. I know how you like looking at yourself. Bring those back up for me 1 second, sir. There we go. So we thought, based on the draft, we thought it would be an outright Adroit win based on the fact they had the Lycan, they had the Alchemist, they looked pretty good. We commented, GeekFam, they weren't really slowing down Mac too much, but then around the 5-minute mark, Zephyr started making the rotations mid, started making it very hellish for him to try and farm at all, just stood there in the mid lane looking at him the whole time, just taunting.
Yeah.
GeekFam just took over in the end. Like, Adroit, they weren't really focusing on protecting the Alchemist. It was really strange, right? Like, they just didn't protect him.
No, they would send CML 1 minute, and then after a while he'd pull back, then he'd come back in, but the pressure from GeekFam was consistent. I like seeing that coming out from them. And while they were applying that pressure, of course, they gave so much space to Raven at the same time. So all that map pressure just gave Raven free farm on the Terrorblade, which we know he's a master of.
And that is the second time in 2 days the Twitter curse has come alive. Adroit said they would get revenge for RR. Adroit do not make it to verse Boom. And it's very unfortunate for them because they were looking pretty good throughout the group stages. Still, congratulations to GeekFam, John. No interview. They probably a little bit tired after the that best of 3 series. Fair enough. It's dinner time, I'm sure, for them as well, as you would say. Have you got any final words, John? Because I believe this is our last day of the Pro Series, though I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. So have you got any final words before we do head off?
You know, hopefully everyone has had fun. The games have been pretty fantastic.